Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free, no-risk consultation. 800-292-7875. 800-292-7875. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-292-7875.
There have been arrests in connection with a daring daytime heist at the Louvre in Paris.
One suspect reportedly preparing to leave the country. Police nabbing them at Charles de Gaulle Airport Saturday. French media earlier reporting 2 arrests. The thieves stole jewels valued at $102 million in less than 8 minutes while the museum was open Saturday morning, October 19th. Officials say they dressed as renovation workers, used a stolen basket lift to scale the Louvre's facade, getting through a window, making their way to the gallery with the jewels, cutting through display cases, then exiting the way they came in and riding off on scooters. The museum's director calling it a terrible failure. I'm Julie Walker.
Argentina's President Javier Milei has won decisive victories in key districts nationwide midterm elections, clinching a crucial vote of confidence. News and analysis, townhall.com. 1 week ahead of time, there is confusion about daylight saving time.
Every October, there's a week when Europe and the U.S. are out of sync with daylight saving time, confusing people organizing international meetings, not to mention confusing people who are not organizing international meetings. In Europe, clocks go back on the last Sunday in October. In the U.S., the first Sunday in November. So, you see, this creates a temporary 1-hour change in time difference between London and New York, a period when basically no one anywhere has the foggiest idea what time it is. Jason Walker reporting.
The FAA says flights departing for Los Angeles International Airport had to be halted briefly yesterday morning. It was because of a staffing shortage at a Southern California air traffic facility. More on these stories, townhall.com.
It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Good morning to everyone throughout the John Fredericks Media Network. We are indeed broadcasting live from our studios in Nashville, Tennessee. It is Monday, October 27th, 2025. Time for the Morning Rundown, which is brought to you every weekday at this time by our very good friends at the Glock Store, glockstore.com, located just a few miles from the airport right here in Nashville, Tennessee. So here we go. Here's the Morning Rundown for Monday, October 27th, 2025. Number 1, Donald Trump dances in Malaysia. You see that clip of him? I mean, I think he was doing his YMCA dance in Malaysia. They were doing some other kind of dance, but it was kind of fun to watch. He's now in Japan. He's meeting the first female prime minister of Japan. She's apparently going to gift him a pair of golf clubs that were formerly the golf clubs of Sherman Abe, the assassinated former prime minister there. And then he's going to go on to South Korea, where he's going to talk with Xi, the authoritarian dictator in China, about a trade deal. Number 2, a massive pro-communist, pro-Muslim rally in New York City last night. You had Zoran Mamdani, the Muslim Marxist from Manhattan, running for mayor. You like that alliteration? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, and Kathy Hochul, the Botox bandit from Buffalo, right? Isn't that what Sean Farash calls her? The bucktooth Botox bandit from Buffalo. Basically, they want to tax the rich, they want everything free, and they want to stop a phantom thing called Islamophobia. Yeah, listen to Zoran Mamdani. The real victims of 9/11 were, his aunt, who got bad looks in the subway wearing her hijab, except I don't think she was in New York City then. Okay, she was in Tanzania. Number 3, in Tennessee's 5th Congressional District. It's big news over the weekend. Donald Trump endorsed incumbent Congressman Andy Ogles for re-election. That's big news. Andy is in the midst of his second term, and he has a challenge this time around from Charlie Hatcher, former Commissioner of Agriculture, the owner of Hatcher Dairy. We haven't heard from Charlie to see if this is going to dissuade him from putting that election primary challenge out. Tom Pappert will be with us at the bottom of the hour to talk about that. Number 4. It's not a gift that keeps on giving. It's a bad penny that keeps turning up. Kilmar Abrego Garcia continues to game the system, or to be more precise, his highly paid lawyers from New York City and Nashville and elsewhere in Washington, D.C. area, the immigration attorneys, they continue to game the system. Now he has a 24th country that he says will torture him. So he can't deport him to Liberia. It's a game of chicken. And basically, his lawyers are trying to get him off on his alleged human smuggling charge. They want him deported to Costa Rica. He wouldn't cut a deal. And so DHS said, no, that deal to Costa Rica is off. We're sending you to Liberia. He has a final deportation order in effect. It's been in effect since 2019. Number 5, CBS News, totally not different under Barry Weiss. A second failure. CBS Sunday Morning yesterday had a puff piece on Gavin Newsom. No mention of his Pacific Palisades rebuild failure. No mention of his failure to stop fires there by just following, sane conservation practices. No mention of the 62,000 commercial driver's licenses that they've given to illegals. Yeah, it was a puff piece. This follows their incredibly biased report on, wait for it, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, filled with lies and misrepresentation. Barry Weiss, we've said, Barry, you got to have us on, and we need 13 minutes to rebut that. When the phone didn't ring, we knew it was Barry Weiss. So the new CBS is the same CBS. As far as I can tell so far, Barry, not quite doing the job. Number 6, neo-Confederate insurrectionists, blue city mayors and blue state mayors continue the insurrection. Yeah, they're coming after federal law enforcement officers. It's not good. Number 7, we have more details on the explosion in Hickman County a couple of weeks ago that killed 16 people. We're really the only outlet at Tennessee Star that's done an in-depth reporting on that. Number 8, Mark Pulliam, retired attorney, author of the blog Misrule of Law, joins us in hour 2. And then number 9, the former WKRN news anchor. That would be Neil Oren. He joins us here in studio in hour 3. We're going to talk. He was the news anchor there. How long was he the news? For like 29 years. And he left in November. Why did he leave? What does he have to say about, what does he have to say about all sorts of things of local news? I'm a big critic of local news. Absolutely a big critic of local news. We'll see the inside scoop with Neil Oren. There you go. That is the morning rundown for Monday, October 27th, 2025, brought to you by our good friends at the Glock Store, glockstore.com. Did you know that in addition to selling more Glock handguns than any other retailer in the country, that Glock Store, they also give away more Glocks than any retailer? They continually run sweepstakes that give away Glocks, and this month is no exception. At the Glock Store, October is Glocktober, and they're giving away the winner's choice of any stock factory Glock handgun. This goes until Friday, because that's October 31st. It's Halloween, right? That is up to a $620 value. It's all free, including shipping to your nearest FFL. The easiest way to enter is just to buy one of the GS limited edition pumpkin-themed stickers or patches. You'll then be automatically entered into the sweepstakes. 1 entry per sticker, 2 entries per patch. There's complete information as well as a no-cost entry method on the Glocktober giveaway page at glockstore.com. /GG. This is from Lenny McGill. It's not that he's known all over the world as that Glock guy. It's not just that. Now he's getting known as that Glock giveaway guy. If you've always wanted a Glock, and especially a free Glock, visit Glockstore.com today. All right, let's go to this Marxist rally in New York City last night. All the stars were there, and this is what they were chanting. Clip 3. Big crowd. The chant in the background was tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. And of course, if that wasn't crazy enough, we have a little bit of crazy, a lot of bit of crazy actually, from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez speaking at the event. Clip 4.
Who's escaping Holocaust? Black Americans fleeing slavery and Jim Crow. Latinos seeking a better life. Native people standing for themselves. Asian Americans coming together in Queens, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, in Manhattan, in Staten Island, in this country.
Okay, what was that all about? Not much of anything. Now, Mamdani's dad is a pure communist and anti-American. We've got this clip from just a year ago, clip 2, Mamdani's dad. No, we don't have time for that? All right, well, we'll hold that off. We'll do that after the break. And boy, do we have a jam-packed show today. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy. Our website, TennesseeStar.com. Our phone number, 615-814-2848. 615-814-2848. When we come back, Mamdani's dad, the true communist. Back after this.
Now more than ever, it's imperative to support companies that share our conservative values. That's why I can't be more excited to tell you that I've switched my family to Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you shift your support away from the leftist, woke, progressive agendas of Big Mobile. Patriot Mobile's wireless service works perfectly and seamlessly as you go about your lives with exceptional nationwide coverage that uses the same towers the main carriers use. Patriot Mobile donates a portion of every dollar earned to causes you care about, to organizations that fight for religious freedom, First and Second Amendments, sanctity of life, and the needs of veterans and first responders. Patriot Mobile has plans to fit any budget, along with great discounts for our veterans and first responder heroes, as well as multi-line users. Switching is easy. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Godzilla or call their U.S.-based customer service team, 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-728-7468. Use offer code Godzilla for free activation.
You've seen the news about Radical Jay Jones, the Democrat who wanted his opponent assassinated.
Jay Jones hoped a Republican's children would die in their mother's arms.
Jay Jones said police needed to die to advance his political agenda.
That's why every law enforcement group called on Jay Jones to withdraw from the race for Attorney General.
But Jay Jones is still in the race.
The only way to stop Jay Jones is for you to vote.
You can vote early in person right now or on Election Day, Tuesday, November 4th.
Log on to votenowva.com to find out hours and locations of where you can cast your ballot today. Again, go to votenowva.com.
Vote early. Vote now. Vote before November 4th for our Attorney General, Jason Miyares.
This election is an easy choice. Jason Miyares is the people's protector.
And Jay Jones is too liberal and too damn soft on criminals.
Jay Jones is unacceptable for Virginia.
I'm Jason Miyares, candidate for Attorney General, and this ad was sponsored by Miyares for Virginia. Have you looked at your power bill lately? Electricity prices are at all-time highs, and they're only going up. Even worse, power outages are becoming more and more common. In fact, according to the Department of Energy, blackouts could increase 10,000% over the next few years. If you don't have a backup generator for your home, it's time to get one. But gas generators, they're loud, high maintenance, and they produce dangerous exhaust fumes. The Grid Doctor 3300 solar generator from My Patriot Supply is different. It's whisper quiet, requires no fuel, and it's safe to use indoors. Yet, it delivers enough power to run almost anything in your home. Best of all, you can get a Grid Doctor 3300 for $0 down and as little as $104 a month when you shop at MyPatriotSupply.com. That's right, 3,300 watts of backup power delivered to your door for as little as $104 per month. See the page for more details at MyPatriotSupply.com. That's MyPatriotSupply.com.
I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of GlockStore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported the Second Amendment rights of free men and women to protect themselves and their families with firearms. We offer the very best in both selection and prices on Glock handguns, custom Glocks, Glock magazines, and high-performance shooting accessories at GlockStore.com. We also have the finest retail showroom and our Shoot 270 shoot rooms right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Come visit us at GlockStore.com, and you'll be glad you did.
I'm Chanel Sheeran, and I'm honored to share a special invitation on behalf of Senator Mark Pody. Mark would like to personally invite you to his community re-election kickoff this Saturday, October 25th from 11 to 2 right here in Lebanon. Go to markpody.com. This is a time to gather as neighbors, celebrate our values, look ahead to all God has in store for our future together. We're also excited to welcome Dr. Ben Graham, appointed by President Trump as Faith Director in Washington, D.C. As your current state senator, Mark leads with faith at the center of everything he does. He stands firmly for faith, family, and freedom, supporting our schools, teachers, protecting our children, and community safety. So bring your friends, your family, and your faith, and come celebrate with us on October 25th. Together, through our diligence and prayer, we can keep Tennessee strong. Paid for by Campaign Mark Pody, Kristen Hibden, Treasurer.
Now more than ever, President Trump needs battle-tested conservatives fighting alongside him to save our country. That's why Trump endorsed Matt Van Epps for Congress. West Point grad, 9 combat tours, decorated Army vet. Matt Van Epps has devoted his life to defending America and the conservative values we cherish. Endorsed by Trump, fearless conservative. Tennessee's Matt Van Epps for Congress. School Freedom Fund is responsible for the content of this ad.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Well, I want to talk about what's happening in New York City. The New York City that once existed is about to be entirely gone. It's been taken over by, let's be honest, foreign-borns, mostly Muslim. That's really the deal. 1 million of the 8.8 million people who live in New York City are Muslim, but 36% of the people in New York City are foreign-born. Among those 36%, recent polls show, 62% favor Zoran Mamdani, himself born in Uganda, didn't come to the United States till he was 7 years old, and is apparently a dual citizen of Uganda and of the United States. How did that happen? His father is an outright Islamist, pro-communist, anti-American. Here, we'll play a clip from his father, clip 2.
America is the genesis of what we call settler colonialism. And the American model was exported all around the world. Abraham Lincoln generalized the solution of reservations. They herded American Indians into separate territories. For the Nazis, this was the inspiration. Hitler realized 2 things. One, that genocide was doable. It is possible to do genocide. That's what Hitler realized. Second thing Hitler realized is that you don't have to have a common citizenship. You can differentiate between people. The Nuremberg laws were patterned after American laws. Anyway, the U.S. put Indians in reservations. The U.S. invented the model.
Yeah, that guy is a professor at Columbia University. He hates America, and his son hates America. We have some more about the surrender of New York Democrats to the pro-Muslim, pro-Marxist worldview. Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, here's what she had to say. She endorsed Mamdani at this rally. Clip 6.
This is about this November's election, but take that energy, that passion, and take it into 26 so that we can take back the House of Representatives, take the Senate, and take back our country. With your help, we will. Elect Soren, and we take back America. Thank you, Queens. Thank you, New York. God love you guys.
Elect Soren, and we, what do you mean we? Who's going to take back America? Yeah, basically Islamist pro-communists. That's the bucktooth Botox bandit from Buffalo, otherwise known as Kathy Hochul. Jerry sends this in to us from X. Jerry at Pitbull 95. I spent 51 years of my life growing up and living in New York City. I never thought I would see what is now going on in that city. I'm embarrassed to say I once lived there. Well, it was once a great city. It is on its way to being, a third world blank hole. Let's go on to a little bit of what Mamdani is talking about. He's talking about a Muslim supremacy in New York City. Clip 8.
Alhamdulillah, there are 1 million Muslims in this city. 200,000 of us are registered to vote as Democrats. In the last election, only 7% of us voted. Now, I will not blame anyone because often it feels like there isn't much to vote for. But this June 24th, with early voting starting tomorrow, it is an opportunity. An opportunity for us to show that Muslims don't just belong in New York City, we also belong in City Hall.
There you go.
Because
now, what's his message? Free stuff is his message. Yep. Clip 9. Clip 9. Muslim Mamdani wants free stuff for everybody.
We'll make our city one where every person who calls it home can live a dignified life.
Every person, i.e. illegal aliens.
No New Yorker should ever be priced out of anything they need to survive.
Anything they need to survive.
And we believe then, we believe today, we will believe tomorrow that it is government's job to deliver that dignity.
In other words, governor's job to deliver free stuff.
My friends, is another way of saying freedom.
Dignity, freedom, yeah. Their freedom is paid for by taxpayers. Their freedom to ride the bus for free, get free food, free housing. Now, there is one thing that Mamdani opposes, and that is deportation of illegal aliens. Let's go with clip 10 right now on that one.
I think the major threat is Donald Trump. And I think that in a fiscal sense, he wakes up every morning, he makes a different threat. One of those threats is to withhold funding from the city. He's already done it a number of times under Adams. He looked to withhold about $18 billion in infrastructure grants, in large part in an attempt of political retribution for the shutdown. And the city has about 8-9% of its budget from federal funding, which all things considered is actually much less than, for example, the state. A lot of our money actually comes through the state. Donald Trump looking to withhold funding is a massive factor. The other part is his attempt to fulfill his promise of creating the single largest deportation force in American history. We have to approach this job with the expectation that crisis will be a regular part of life in dealing with Donald Trump, and that we simultaneously have to move the ball forward on medium and long-term initiatives.
Yeah,
It
well, that's
cannot
what he's going to try and do. Get rid of the police, free bus, free housing for basically illegal aliens. That's what he wants to do. Now, I'm going to put on my Nostradamus cap. I can see something coming down the pike. Would you like to know what it is? Yes, you would. In New York City, I think Zoran Mamdani, the Muslim Marxist from Manhattan, will win the mayor's election. I think that seems likely. But he's going to have a difficult time. And I think there's going to be, I see someone arising as a political counterpoint who will, I think, be in a position to challenge him and defeat him when he's up for re-election. I think it's every 4 years, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's in 4 years. And that is the woman police commissioner. Her last name is Tish, Commissioner Tish. And already he's kind of said, well, she will do whatever I tell him to. Guess what? She's not going to. Okay. Here's my prediction. He's going to try to defang the police. She will resist it, and she'll resist it, and then he'll try to fire her. And ultimately, he may succeed in that to remove her. But when he does, he will breathe life into a political campaign that will have more common sense than he has. And she will then she's like 44. It's kind of interesting background. I think her dad is one of the wealthy Tishes. And she's got a kind of an interesting background. At first I thought, well, she's really never been a police officer per se. I think she's got a law degree, etc. But she does have a bit of common sense. And so I think what you're going to see is a couple things. If he wins, which he's likely to do, he gets sworn in January. There will be withdrawal of federal funds, and he's going to push the police commissioner, Tish, to do things she doesn't want to do. And in the end, he'll end up firing her. And then she'll run for mayor against him and win. There you go. That's my prognostication. Mark it down. It's on tape. Check it out in 4 years. We'll be back after this. Tom Pappert joins us.
Now more than ever, it's imperative to support companies that share our conservative values. That's why I can't be more excited to tell you that I've switched my family to Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you shift your support away from the leftist, woke, progressive agendas of Big Mobile. Patriot Mobile's wireless service works perfectly and seamlessly as you go about your lives with exceptional nationwide coverage that uses the same towers the main carriers use. Patriot Mobile donates a portion of every dollar earned to causes you care about, to organizations that fight for religious freedom, First and Second Amendments, sanctity of life, and the needs of veterans and first responders. Patriot Mobile has plans to fit any budget, along with great discounts for our veterans and first responder heroes, as well as multi-line users. Switching is easy. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Godzilla or call their U.S.-based customer service team, 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-728-7468. Use offer code Godzilla for free activation.
Ghazala Hashmi is masquerading as a moderate, but she's really a dangerous far-left radical. The facts? Crazy far-left groups bankroll Ghazala Hashmi's campaign, and Hashmi repeatedly voted for taxpayer-funded tuition and driver's licenses for illegal immigrants. She even co-sponsored legislation to lower the penalties for criminals who assault police officers and firefighters. Ghazala Hashmi, masquerading as a moderate, too radical for Virginia.
I'm John Reed, candidate for Lieutenant Governor, and I sponsored this ad.
I'm Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, Executive Director of the American Constitutional Rights Union Action Fund, and this is a Live Free Minute. Just this month, an illegal immigrant in Virginia was convicted of raping an 11-year-old girl after breaking into her home. On any given day, there are hundreds of illegal immigrants in Virginia jails who have committed violent crimes. Yet there are politicians who openly advocate for protecting these criminal illegal immigrants and who wish to make Virginia a sanctuary for them. Our constitutional republic is dependent on adherence to the rule of law. Our founders could not have imagined that there would be politicians who would be so bold as to campaign against it. I encourage you to vote this election to protect public safety and the rule of law. This Live Free Minute is sponsored by the American Constitutional Rights Union Action Fund. We empower Americans to live free. And for more information, go to acruaction.com.
Is your pet ready for some pawsome fun? At Creekside Pet Hotel in Kennesaw, every day is a tail-wagging adventure. Whether they're romping with friends in day camp, enjoying a staycation in our cozy boarding, or getting pampered in our luxury spa, we make sure every furry guest gets the royal treatment. Happy pets, wagging tails, and the best care. What more could they ask for? Book your pet's perfect getaway today at creeksidepethotel.com or give us a call at 770-422-4700.
My fellow Americans, I have to tell you about my good friends at D.T. McCall & Sons. They have furniture and appliances and a lot more. They've been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years, and they're not going to rip you off. No hidden charges, no delivery charges, no charges for all of the crazy things. These are sick people at the lumber yards. These are very sick people. They charge you for cords and hoses and haul off. They charge you for all of these things. They call them hidden charges. It's the type of surprise that you don't want to see. It's like an October surprise, but it's worse. D.T. McCall & Sons, they're not going to do that. They're great people. They're going to give you a great deal. With locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, D.T. McCall & Sons will give you the deal of your life. Check them out today or go to dtmccalls.com.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
This is Michael Patrick Leahy. Join Rutherford County Mayor Joe Carr, Senator Marsha Blackburn, Congressman Tim Burchett, and Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs and me at T-Bones and Politics 2025 on the evening of November 10th in Murfreesboro for a night of great food, good fellowship, and inspiring political speeches. Get your tickets now. They're going fast at tbonesandpolitics2025.com. This is a great annual event. This year, musical entertainment will be provided by the Tremolo Honey Band. If you haven't heard them before, they are absolutely fantastic. This special event is sponsored by Barrett Firearms, Old South SRM, Moody Excavating, Azure Flight Management, and SEC Engineers. So go right now to tbonesandpolitics2025.com and get your tickets for T-Bones and Politics. It's an evening of great food and fun on November 10th. I'll see you there. Paid for by Joe Pack, William Ronsley, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
We welcome to our Zoom Newsmaker line our lead political reporter at the Tennessee Star and the Star News Network, Mr. Tom Pappert. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Michael.
Well, a curveball was thrown into the Tennessee 5th congressional election. I don't know if it's a curveball or maybe a fastball down the middle, at least for the opponents to incumbent Congressman, maybe a fastball that just touched the edge of the plate in the strike zone. Incumbent Congressman Andy Ogles, a friend of the program, who has now in the sort of the midst of his second term, he represents the 5th congressional district, which includes parts of Davidson County, the eastern half of Williamson County, where I reside, the western half of Wilson County, all of Marshall, Murray, and Lewis counties. And in 2022, very contentious primary. He ended up winning by about 11 points. A lot of support from Club for Growth and other outside groups. In 2024, he had a primary challenge from Courtney Johnston. He kind of easily took care of that. I think it was like 55-45, maybe 56-44. And then the general election he won. He typically wins these general elections like 55-45, 57-43. Now, interestingly enough, and by the way, Andy has a 100% conservative voting record. 100%. He gets some criticism for a couple things. Number one, he does a lot of high visibility proposals, like he proposed putting a constitutional amendment that would allow Donald Trump to have a third term. He also proposed putting Donald Trump on Mount Rushmore, which is probably not a bad idea. But the criticism on that legislative is he does a lot of show horse stuff and not a lot of workhorse stuff. That's one criticism. And then the other criticism, he has unusual accounting, right? Has gotten into a bit of trouble with the FEC, but nothing major. And he hasn't raised a lot of money. You put all that together, a lot of people, maybe more traditional types, traditional Republican types just don't like him. And so they helped put together this challenge from Courtney Johnson last time around. This time, another challenger, pretty significant challenger, emerged. The challenger was Charlie Hatcher. Charlie has worked for the Department of Agriculture here for a long time, has been the Commissioner of Agriculture, lives in Williamson County, been a veterinarian, owns Hatcher Dairy. So he announced he left office October 1st. I think he announced that he's going to challenge Andy a couple weeks ago. The 15th, yeah. Thank you for that. And his message was, Washington needs a farmer. I think that was it, right? But he said he's pretty much pro-Trump. So there was some.
Well, I'd say that's right. I'd say that he argued that he would be more effective than Andy Ogles because of his experience as a farmer.
Which, I mean, I guess that's who he is. First term, member of Congress with low visibility. He certainly won't have the, how shall I say, the charismatic wattage of Andy Ogles, right? The ability to attract camera attention of Andy. But, I mean, after he announced, and presumably Governor Bill Lee would be backing Hatcher, and apparently had a lot of. Have we seen much of Hatcher, since his announcement?
Michael, we haven't seen a lot from him, which is a little bit surprising, but we are so early that it's not so surprising to be unusual. But no, it was really a launch. The launch kind of came late in the day. It was rumored to be coming earlier in the week. And then on the day of the big launch, you and I were here on the radio waiting for the press release. And I think it came after you were off the air for the afternoon.
Yeah, I think so. And, so it's been, almost 2 weeks. But on Saturday, President Trump said, whoa, Nelly, wait a minute. He endorsed Andy Ogles in the most emphatic way. You saw that endorsement. There's no question about who he's backing.
No, not at all. And I think, this is really a pattern for President Trump. Andy Ogles has been very loyal to him, and he's been very loyal to Andy Ogles. I went back and looked at the previous endorsements. So Andy Ogles actually endorsed Trump's reelection bid in 2024, except Andy Ogles gave that endorsement all the way back in May of 2023. That was when Trump was really in no man's land, and, it looked like DeSantis might actually be the nominee the following year. And Trump, of course, would endorse Andy Ogles just 5 days later for his 2024 campaign on May 12th, 2023. So I think this is probably something that Tennessee Republicans should have expected. Trump values loyalty, and Trump seems to view Andy Ogles as perfectly effective in Congress when it comes to helping achieve a MAGA agenda. So I think that, again, we probably should have seen this coming from the president, but it is nonetheless going to change the race. Charlie Hatcher's campaign website is essentially, look, I support Trump, I'm pro-Trump, I love Trump, but I'm going to be more effective than Andy Ogles. Well, now that Trump has weighed in, I wonder if Hatcher will have to change his messaging.
Well, we've reached out to Charlie Hatcher to see what he's going to do in light of Donald Trump's endorsement. So far, when the phone didn't ring, we knew it was Charlie Hatcher on the other end of the line. Well, what are your thoughts on that, Tom?
Well, it is interesting because I think this race really represents a new phenomenon that you're going to be seeing all over the country. And that is not that these people are bad. I'm not here to make enemies, but people who are a little bit more establishment leaning, people who are a little bit more familiar with the party infrastructure, they're kind of looking at this new class of MAGA congressmen and saying, I miss when it was our guy in there. And I think that they're trying to run a pro-Trump candidate who will be maybe 10% more friendly to their interests. And I just don't think that that's going to work any better than the last approach, which was to put an anti-Trump candidate in there who's going to try to rally the party against the president. I really don't think there is a solution for the folks who used to have entrenched political power and are seeing some of it diminish, so long as President Trump and J.D. Vance and the rest of the Make America Great Again White House and cabinet are still in place. Frankly, I think that it might just be time to wait another 10 years or so and see how the country looks.
Yeah, and you look at his website, but Charlie Hatcher's website, it says he's pro-Trump, pro-Trump, pro-Trump. Okay. Well, Trump's just giving you a big message there, Charlie. What are you going to do about it, right? I don't know. I keep looking for, he's got a website, he's got an X file, but I'm looking for what he's posted. Basically, he's posted nothing on his X account since his announcement, and he's got 6 followers on it. I don't know. I mean,
which we learned from the Tennessee 7th District primary just a couple weeks ago that Twitter X is still not real life. It doesn't necessarily equate to what you're going to see at the ballot box, but the fact that he's not using it and trying to drum up a little bit, we are very early, but Michael, why launch a campaign and then not campaign vigorously?
Well, I'm looking at his video, right? He put out a little 15-second video. I kind of trying to take a page from Fred Thompson. You may recall when Fred Thompson ran for the Senate in 94 and won, he took his pickup truck and drove it all around the state. Well, he's out there driving around in a beat-up pickup truck around his farm. Well, I think it's a great thing, but I don't know what that does in terms of getting you for Congress at all. So we'll see. Right now, I think he's trying to decide what his options are. And Charlie, what's your plan here? The president has endorsed the incumbent congressman who has a 100% conservative voting record. Why are you going to stay in the race, and who's going to back you? That would be my question to him. What do you think the answer would be?
Well, I think it's going to need to change. I think the answer until Saturday was, well, Andy's a nice guy, and I'm sure he's doing what he thinks is right, but we're going to go in there and be a little bit more effective. Well, now again, President Trump says he's perfectly effective, so maybe the question will be answered a little bit differently. Maybe it will become, well, President Trump doesn't know Tennessee, and we're going to send a real conservative fighter. I would not recommend that messaging. It hasn't worked well in the past, but I think that once Trump weighs in like this, there's not a lot of options left.
Yeah, I don't know. We need to get Charlie in here. We've invited him on the show, but again, when the phone didn't ring, we knew it was Charlie Hatcher accepting our invitation to come on the show. All right, when we come back, yes, we have to do it. We have to do it, Tom. Yet another twist of the page in the never-ending Kilmer-Abrego-Garcia saga. It's a new country, and it's a new claim of persecution. Back after this.
Each of us is born with 30 trillion cells that make us. These cells determine how we feel, perform, sleep, focus, and how long we live. And to live our best life, all we have to do is feed our cells properly. But most supplements don't reach our cells, keeping us from reaching our full potential. Make every cell count with Healthy Cell. Founded with a mission to empower people to take control of their own health at the most fundamental level, the cell. Dr. Vincent Gempapa, world-renowned cell researcher and medical doctor, created supplements that work at the cellular level to support immune health, better sleep, sharper focus, and healthy aging. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of any product. That's healthycell.com, HEALTHYCELL, and use code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Is your pet ready for some pawsome fun? At Creekside Pet Hotel in Kennesaw, every day is a tail-wagging adventure. Whether they're romping with friends in day camp, enjoying a staycation in our cozy boarding, or getting pampered in our luxury spa, we make sure every furry guest gets the royal treatment. Happy pets, wagging tails, and the best care. What more could they ask for? Book your pet's perfect getaway today at creeksidepethotel.com or give us a call at 770-422-4700.
Warning, if you're thinking about surgery to fix your chronic joint pain, stop, because surgery can be risky, painful, and come with a lengthy recovery time. But there is an alternative, a groundbreaking therapy that revitalizes damaged tissue with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. QC Kinetics has successfully treated tens of thousands of patients, freeing them from pain in their knees, shoulders, hips, and other joints. Before you resort to invasive surgery, find out if you're a candidate for this advanced regenerative therapy by calling 757-239-3518. Don't let chronic pain dictate your life any longer, and don't risk surgery. Learn more about the joint pain therapy endorsed by professional athletes and available now to the public, but only for qualified candidates. To find out if you're eligible, request a free consultation from QC Kinetics. You owe it to yourself to learn more about this surgery-free alternative with no drugs and no downtime. Call QC Kinetics today, 757-239-3518, 757-239-3518.
Ghazala Hashmi is masquerading as a moderate, but she's really a dangerous far-left radical. The facts? Crazy far-left groups bankroll Ghazala Hashmi's campaign, and Hashmi repeatedly voted for taxpayer-funded tuition and driver's licenses for illegal immigrants. She even co-sponsored legislation to lower the penalties for criminals who assault police officers and firefighters. Ghazala Hashmi, masquerading as a moderate, too radical for Virginia.
I'm John Reed, candidate for Lieutenant Governor, and I sponsored this ad.
Hey there, it's Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of GlockStore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported our Second Amendment rights with GlockStore.com, the world's #1 source for Glock handguns, parts, and accessories. I also support accurate, unbiased journalism like The Michael Patrick Leahy Show. His team broke the Kilmar Abrego Garcia traffic stop and was the first to obtain that video. Independent journalism at its finest. Visit us at GlockStore.com, listen to Michael Patrick Leahy, and make America great again.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Well, here we go again. Yes, the Kilmar Abrego Garcia update number 5 million. The one individual in American history who's received more legal expenses for protecting his due process rights than anybody else. Tom Pappert, what is the latest from Kilmar Abrego Garcia's highly paid New York City-based, Washington, D.C.-based, Nashville-based attorneys?
Well, Michael, on Friday, of course, we told you that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was destined for Liberia. The West African country had agreed to accept him, and according to the U.S. Department of Justice, had made various promises and statements about how it will treat Abrego Garcia and everybody like him once they are deported from America to African soil. Well, late on Friday, Kilmar Abrego Garcia did what we expected. He filed his notice that he expresses fear of persecution or torture if deported to Liberia. That makes Liberia the 24th country where he has claimed to fear he will be tortured or persecuted if deported. This includes, of course, Uganda, Eswatini, the two most recent areas where Abrego Garcia was destined to be deported, but it also includes Costa Rica, the country that he has designated as his preferred destination for removal, but nonetheless claims he fears he will be tortured and persecuted.
The Costa Rica thing, his attorneys actually said that he's afraid he will be tortured or persecuted in Costa Rica after they were trying to get a deal to send him there?
That's correct. In fact, Abrego Garcia has twice designated Costa Rica as his preferred country for removal, but has nonetheless, again, claimed he fears persecution or torture there.
Yeah, the words gaming the system come to mind. How much has been spent on the criminal defense and the deportation immigration expense representation of Kilmar Abrego Garcia? We've got to be over $10 million in legal fees, don't you think?
Oh, that would be my guess. And Michael, I mean, it's so absurd. Again, these are massive law firms. The top immigration firm, or at least the firm working on the immigration case, is Quinn Emanuel. They represent people like the Kardashian family, Elon Musk, heavy hitters from business and entertainment, and they're supporting Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Then on the criminal side, of course, you have the Hecker and Fink law firm, represented E. Jean Carroll, currently has former President Joe Biden as a client, and those are just two of them. Then there's, of course, two more firms, the immigration firm in Maryland and the criminal defense firm in Nashville. And when you look at their filings, it will sometimes be, here's our status update, Judge, and then there will be attachments, A through Q, and everyone will be 10 or 12 pages. I can only imagine that unless they have the world's most sophisticated AI crafting these legal arguments, and I certainly do not think they do, that this has to be tens of millions of dollars, like well north of 10 million at this point. But again, I'm no lawyer, and that's just my analysis.
Look, I think we should ask our buddies in Congress, Andy Ogles, maybe Tim Burchett, to request an investigation into who's paying for his legal fees. I wonder. The fees are so huge, and the gaming is so great. I think this is making a laughingstock of the legal system, particularly as it's being implemented by Judge Paula Zenas. She's the one who basically has said, well, you got to show us a country. Well, first she said you can't deport him while this is going on. Then you said, well, you still can't deport him because you haven't picked a country. Well, they picked Liberia. Now, isn't this a game of chicken? Don't we? Haven't they said they're going to deport him by Friday?
Well, they have said that, but again, it's very interesting because Paula Zenas, she seems to be insinuating, Michael, that she is going to release Abrego Garcia. Well, if she releases Abrego Garcia, then it would seem to me that there is no live issue at play with his lawsuit anymore. He's gotten what he wanted. He's back to be free and have his pretrial release as was ordered by a magistrate judge in Tennessee. But the thing is, if they have a deportation order from 2019 that a judge just confirmed was valid earlier this month, and they have a country other than El Salvador willing to accept him, then as far as I can tell, the second he walks out of the door and Paula Zenas no longer claims to have control over this man's movements, then he can go to Liberia immediately.
Yeah, well, look, I think that's really the way that this is headed. What are the odds that she releases him and he's He's on his way to Liberia this Friday.
Well, I think this Obama-appointed judge is probably going to scratch her head and come up with some new form of legal maneuver that will allow Abrego Garcia to remain in the country a little bit longer. The Trump administration can probably keep him in an ICE facility until about February, and I think that's where Zinnis wants him to be.
But, she is acting as if she's a part of the defense team, really, if you want to be blunt about it. And I think there ought to be an inquiry into her conduct. Lots of inquiries. All right, Tom Pappert, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Michael. Always a pleasure.
There will be another Kilmer Abrego Garcia update this week, I'm sure. Hey, when we come back, All-Star panelist, good friend, the author of Misrule of Law, retired attorney, the one, the only, Mark Pulliam, will be with us. Back after this.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cells Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's healthycell.com, code GODZILLA for 20% off.
The Cats and Cosby Show.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories.
Mandami visited a very controversial Brooklyn mosque just months after the imam there called for the annihilation of Israel. Your thoughts?
This is a total failure of the media, the journalists, and the Democratic Party to confront this kid with his own background. He's a rabid socialist.
Cats and Cosby, 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the John Fredericks Media Network.
He gave the finger to the Columbus statue.
Right. I can't almost think of any group he hasn't offended.
John Fredericks loves his radio and TV audience, but did you know how to follow the Godzilla of Truth wherever you go? Download the John Fredericks Radio Show app to listen live nationwide. For the daily chit-chat, Trucking the Truth, download the Getter app and join the morning fun on Getter Live from 6 to 10 a.m. Follow John Fredericks on Getter, Truth Social, or Twitter at JF Radio.
WJFN, Goochland, Bon Air, Chester, 100.5, 107.7, 92.7 FM, AM 820, and WJFB, Portsmouth, AM 1650.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Jamaica is bracing for a most unwanted visitor, perhaps the most powerful hurricane the island has ever seen.
In the hours before Hurricane Melissa makes landfall in Jamaica, the authorities have issued evacuation orders for several areas, including the coastal town of Port Royal, and warned people to seek immediate shelter. The storm is expected to be one of the strongest to hit the island on record, with meteorologists warning of 225 km/h winds and up to a meter of rain being dumped on Jamaica in the coming days. The U.S. National Hurricane Center has said the storm could bring catastrophic flooding to some parts of the island.
The BBC's Will Grant says Melissa is a Category 5 hurricane, landfall expected tomorrow on Jamaica. No reports of injuries, but there is damage to homes and businesses in the wake of tornadoes raked parts of southern Mississippi over the weekend. Now in Japan, President Trump says he is looking forward to his meeting later today with the country's new prime minister.
I hear phenomenal things. She was a great ally and friend of Shinzo Abe, who was my friend, the former prime minister, and he was great. He was one of my best. He was one of the best, and the group, he was one of the best, really best. And I know they were very close.
After Japan, it's on to South Korea and the expected meeting with Chinese President Xi, amid reports of progress on a U.S.-China trade agreement. The Russian saber rattling is growing louder. The Kremlin reports testing a new nuclear-capable cruise missile that it claims flew more than 8,000 miles. President Trump reminds the Russians that, in the president's words, We have a nuclear submarine, the greatest in the world, right off their shores. Watching Wall Street, the Dow is up 239 points. The Nasdaq ahead 358 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-762-6565. That's 800-762-6565.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, ethos.com/Mike.
No lack of controversy as India's Electoral Commission gets ready to clean up voter rolls in 10 of the nation's states.
India's top polling body argues that this special revision is needed to avoid duplication and to delete the names of the dead. The main opposition Congress party described a recent verification exercise in Bihar state as vote theft after millions of valid names were left off the list. It accused the Election Commission of colluding with the governing Hindu nationalist BJP to help it win the elections in Bihar. The electoral authorities and the BJP have dismissed the allegations as baseless.
The BBC's Embarrassing Etirajan. Authorities have arrested 2 suspects in connection with the theft of crown jewels from Paris's Louvre Museum. The arrest announced yesterday, 1 week after that daring daytime heist. News and analysis at townhall.com. The Department of Justice announced that it will monitor polling sites in 6 jurisdictions ahead of the upcoming November 4th, 2025 general election to ensure transparency, ballot security, and compliance with federal law.
Through the Civil Rights Division, the Justice Department enforces federal voting rights laws that protect the rights of all eligible citizens to access the ballot. The department regularly deploys its staff to monitor for compliance with federal civil rights laws in elections in communities across the country. Attorney General Pam Bondi says, quote, "We will commit the resources necessary to ensure the American people get the fair, free, and transparent elections they deserve." The division will deploy civil rights personnel who will coordinate with U.S. attorneys' offices. Bernie Bennett in Washington.
A 24-year-old Honduran man struck and killed by a vehicle on a Virginia highway. It happened while he was fleeing federal immigration agents. More on these stories, townhall.com.
It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. In studio, our very good friend, a retired attorney, graduate of the University of Texas School of Law, practice in California for 30 years?
Yep.
30 plus years. Now retired, although we keep trying to pull him into it because we need some help here legally in terms of fighting for truth, justice, and the American way. But also the author of the great blog, Misrule of Law, the one, the only, Mark Pulliam. Welcome, Mark.
Well, thanks for the kind words, Michael.
So you really prepare well for our 1-hour conversations. And I got, 6 pages of detailed notes from you. This is from your background, preparing as an attorney, of course. Headline: Democrats and their lawyers are scoundrels, charlatans, and shysters. What do you really think?
Well, so the theme was what is happening in our blue states and blue cities regarding ICE enforcement. And it's really a kind of a depressing and concerning situation. But, so there's the bad news and the good news. I'll start with the bad news. And the bad news we've been talking about week after week. We've seen news reports of the blue state governors and blue city mayors attempting to dox ICE officers, hamstringing their enforcement efforts, comparing them to Gestapo, accusing them of kidnapping people off the streets based on their skin color, emboldening the violent crowds, including Antifa, who assault ICE personnel. They're even using their cars to ram ICE vehicles.
I saw that in Chicago, for sure.
Yeah, opposing the deployment of the National Guard. And the thing that really disturbed me is most recently threatening ICE officers with prosecution. And this is something that both Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Nancy Pelosi have publicly said. And
so hold it. We have a supremacy clause in the Constitution.
Well,
don't we?
They do not consider the Constitution something that applies to them in their little fiefdom of sanctuary status states and cities.
They think they're like separate countries.
Well, they're moving in that direction.
Yeah.
And in Chicago, they even dragged former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who has not been seen or heard of in years, out of obscurity to join in this campaign to let's get the names of all of the ICE people, their addresses, and then someday when we have control, we're going to prosecute them all for their supposed crimes against humanity. In California, they passed a law making it a crime for ICE officers to wear masks on duty, even though gang members have put out bounties on ICE officials. And cartels are trying to find out where these people are so that they can eliminate them. And I was heartened this morning as I was reading the Wall Street Journal that Kristi Noem, our Secretary of Homeland Security, wrote an op-ed called "The Left Attacks the Rule of Law." And she goes through all of these same things that I just mentioned, pointing out that leftist extremists are waging war on the rule of law, liberty, and our way of life, talking about the attacks being made, which includes, she reminded me, that in Dallas, a sniper tried to take out ICE officers.
It was a sniper with a bat aim who killed a couple of ICE detainees.
Yeah. And the scariest thing is that, and this is how she concludes, she says, mainstream media continues to demonize ICE and the Department of Homeland Security officers, contributing to the 1,000% increase in assaults on officers this year compared to 2024. Now,
you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of those abolitionists who praised John Brown after he murdered 5 people in Kansas, in Bleeding, Kansas, in 1857, and praised his attacks on Harbor Ferry.
Yeah, and that's just the kind of match that could very well ignite a conflagration, just like John Brown's conduct and public support of it ignited what became the Civil War. J.B. Pritzker is so adamantly opposed to ICE that he issued an executive order where he formed a Illinois Accountability Commission that's going to basically be a registry of all of the things that ICE does, and he's hoping, he says, when the time comes, Illinois will have testimony in the records needed to pursue justice to its fullest extent.
So the state of Illinois will basically document the proper exercise of federal law enforcement authority by federal law enforcement officials. And if and when a Democrat were to become president, they would go to the Attorney General and say, prosecute these ICE officers.
Well, he's even looking sooner than that. He says if the Democrats manage to win either chamber of Congress in the midterms, they're going to gear up investigations to go after these ICE people. So this is beyond anything that the segregationist South did in opposition to Brown versus Board of Education. This makes George Wallace standing in the schoolhouse door at the University of Alabama, which he stepped aside as soon as the National Guard showed up.
He stepped aside, yeah.
This is worse than that. This is almost like firing on Fort Sumter. This is, you are basically begging for a fight. Now, that's the bad news. And you're right, the Supremacy Clause not going to let this stand. We have other provisions of the Constitution. We have many federal laws which authorize the president to take the action. After all, what are ICE officers doing? They're enforcing federal law, laws passed by Congress. They're protecting our borders, defending our national sovereignty. Okay, so here's the good news, is that last week, even the notoriously liberal Ninth Circuit, and when I was practicing law, the Ninth Circuit was regularly...
Ninth Circuit is basically the roll-up of the federal district courts from California, Oregon, Washington, and Hawaii, right?
Well, it's the entire western United States.
Oh, okay.
It's the largest geographically circuit and has a very large roster of judges, maybe the largest circuit in terms of number of judges.
10 years ago, it was like lefty central.
Extreme left. It was the most frequently reversed circuit in the country. But other circuits have caught up, and in the Ninth Circuit, you've had some more conservative appointees. So they issued a decision overturning the decision from that Portland rogue judge, Karen Immergut, who ironically was a Trump 1.0 appointee, but turned out to be a bad one. And she had enjoined President Trump's move to federalize the National Guard in Portland and issued a restraining order against it. The Ninth Circuit lifted that restraining order, citing federal statutes that authorize the president and gives him broad discretion to deploy the National Guard when it is necessary to effectuate federal law, and in this case, apprehending illegal aliens is a central part of federal law. And there was a concurring opinion. One of the judges issued a concurring opinion saying, not only do I agree with what the majority has said, I would go further and say that this president has unreviewable power to make these kinds of decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And he predicts that the Supreme Court will eventually hold that, and he's correct in that.
I think he's absolutely correct in that.
And John Yoo, who is a University of California at Berkeley law professor, said the same thing. He wrote an article in the Civitas Outlook for the University of Texas, and he says Article 2 of the Constitution places on the president the duty to take care that the laws are faithfully executed. And he goes through the whole history of this Insurrection Act.
The laws have to be faithfully executed.
And the courts are not there to second-guess the president.
They're not supposed to be there. That's what they're doing at the federal district level. But I think, ultimately, the Supreme Court is going to be the stopgap, and some of the circuit courts as well. We'll be back with more after this. He's Mark Pulliam. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy.
Hey folks, Al Green here for SatPhone. When you're on the go, you want to know you're connected. If it's a family vacation or an off-the-grid escape to a remote destination, having reliable communication helps you feel safe and secure. You can't afford to find yourself in a dead zone. That's why you need SatPhone. SatPhones are reliable, durable, and give you global coverage. If you can get outside, you can get in touch. It's that simple. Make calls from your SatPhone to any regular cell phone in the United States. The phones are $1,500 value, but you can get yours free. Just sign up for a 15-month plan, $94.95 a month. Get 150 minutes monthly that roll to the next month. Go 3 months without using them, that's fine. Yes, 3 months, 450 minutes, all yours. Visit SAT123.com or call 855-980-5830. SAT123.com, 855-980-5830. Get surety and security with your SatPhone. Call now.
Ghazala Hashmi is masquerading as a moderate, but she's really a dangerous far-left radical. The facts? Crazy far-left groups bankroll Ghazala Hashmi's campaign, and Hashmi repeatedly voted for taxpayer-funded tuition and driver's licenses for illegal immigrants. She even co-sponsored legislation to lower the penalties for criminals who assault police officers and firefighters. Ghazala Hashmi, masquerading as a moderate, too radical for Virginia.
I'm John Reed, candidate for Lieutenant Governor, and I sponsored this ad. Why is Purple Wave Auction the fastest growing heavy equipment marketplace? Our full service online auctions take the hassle out of buying and selling farm, construction, and fleet equipment. Thousands of business owners partner with Purple Wave each month to manage their equipment. Sellers count on our experienced professionals to handle the marketing, paperwork, and payments. And bidders trust in a marketplace free of reserves and hidden fees. Purple Wave is the turnkey online auction service you've been looking for. Purple Wave Auction. Straight, simple, sold.
For Virginia to grow and thrive, Governor Youngkin declared,
"We have to protect right to work."
Nearly 80% of Virginians agree. So does Winsome Earl Sears. But Abigail Spanberger thinks Virginians should have to pay union bosses just to get or keep their jobs. In fact, Spanberger voted twice in Congress to wipe out every state's right to work law nationwide. Demand she defend worker choice and support right to work. Call Abigail Spanberger, 804-223-0770. Paid for by the National Right to Work Committee.
Is your fur baby looking a bit rough? Transform them from shaggy to snazzy with Be Fur and After Pet Grooming in Marietta, Georgia. Their top-notch groomers pamper your pups with baths, custom cuts, and nail trims that'll have them strutting like show dogs. From mobile grooming vans to their cozy salon, they'll make your pet spa day a tail-wagging blast. Book now at BeFurAndAfterGrooming.com. Be Fur and After, where pets go from grr to glamorous.
I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of GlockStore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported the Second Amendment rights of free men and women to protect themselves and their families with firearms. We offer the very best in both selection and prices on Glock handguns, custom Glocks, Glock magazines, and high-performance shooting accessories at GlockStore.com. We also have the finest retail showroom and our Shoot 270 shoot rooms right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Come visit us at GlockStore.com, and you'll be glad you did.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Now more than ever, President Trump needs battle-tested conservatives fighting alongside him to save our country. That's why Trump endorsed Matt Van Epps for Congress. West Point grad, 9 combat tours, decorated Army vet. Matt Van Epps has devoted his life to defending America and the conservative values we cherish. Endorsed by Trump, fearless conservative. Tennessee's Matt Van Epps for Congress. School Freedom Fund is responsible for the content of this ad.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. In studio, all-star panelist, good friend, retired attorney. I keep trying to drag him back. He says, no, I want to stay retired. Mark Pulliam. Mark, there are a couple of statewide off-year elections going on. New Jersey is the governor's race. Mikey Sherrill, who kind of graduated under a cloud from the Naval Academy and is a far leftist, against Jack Ciattarelli. That's going to be pretty close. But Virginia, that was New Jersey. But in Virginia, the governor's race is Abigail Spanberger, a former CIA analyst, left-wing congresswoman who presents as moderate but really is far, far left. And then they're weird in Virginia because their constitution does not allow for consecutive terms as governor. And so you end up in a weird situation where you'll have a governor serve for 4 years, wait out another 4, and then run for a non-consecutive term. I like our system here in Tennessee better. You can serve 2 terms, but then you're term limited out. That's 8 years. That's a good run to be governor, right? But they elect the governor. They go as a ticket. Got a lieutenant governor on the ticket too, but they're like 43 other states who elect their attorney general every 4 years. Well, there's been some controversy. Well, controversy understates it. This 36-year-old attorney who served in their lower house of delegates, Jay Jones, Well, just why don't you lay out some of the key problems of this guy?
Well, and it's very sad because Virginia used to be a conservative state. It was one of the founding colonies, in the Revolutionary era. They have a lot of heritage that goes with it. A lot of the founding fathers were from Virginia. But it's become dominated by all the government bureaucrats and lawyers and lobbyists and so forth who live in these fancy Northern Virginia suburbs, and they vote like Maryland votes because that's another state that's full of swamp dwellers. And
meaning they vote Democrat.
Yes, it's almost like, it's not quite as bad as D.C., but getting there. And in Virginia, they have an excellent Republican attorney general who's the incumbent, who's running for re-election. And
Jason Myers, I've met Jason, very sharp. He is, I would call him the second best state attorney general in the country. The first, of course, being Jonathan Skrmetti of Tennessee.
Yeah. And you can't leave
Ken
Paxton in Texas out of that. But so this guy has a very thin resume. And
Jay Jones,
but he did become the Democratic nominee, and the election is coming up, and early voting has been going on for quite a while. So there's been a couple of controversies that have developed at the last minute, so to speak, and one of them has gotten a fair amount of attention. That it turns out in 2022 he sent some text messages fantasizing about murdering the Republican speaker by dramatically putting 2 bullets in his head and also killing his children in front of his wife to just demonstrate to her how important it is to not be conservative.
Well, he said the only way we get change is if the other side feels pain.
Right. And
this was 2022.
This was 2022, but this revelation just came out, in the last month or so. And in any previous time in America, if a candidate for elective office had been identified as espousing those kinds of sentiments, he would have been reviled by everybody, including people in his own party, and would have been forced to drop out of the race.
People in his own party, like a decade ago, would have said, "You've got to withdraw."
Yeah.
But he's not withdrawing.
But not now, and everybody on the ticket, Tim Kaine, the senator of Virginia, Abigail Spanberger, they deplore the comments but do not call upon him to drop out of the race.
But he's apologized for them. And they don't reflect his views today, 3 years later.
Yeah. Well, okay, but that's not the only problem that
he has more problems?
Jay Jones has. And so the second problem has also begun to surface, and it also happened in 2022. He was cited in Virginia for reckless driving. He was going 116 miles an hour on a stretch of highway where the speed limit was 70.
Whoa. Let me do some quick calculation. 116 miles an hour minus 70. He was 46 miles an hour above the speed limit.
Yeah.
Mark, if you or I had been stopped driving 160 miles an hour in a 70 mile per hour speed zone, what consequences would we face?
We'd be behind bars.
Yeah.
And similar defendants in Virginia routinely serve jail time for driving at that rate of speed, but somehow he got off with a fine and 1,000 hours of community service.
Well, hold it. Let me think this. 1,000 hours of community. Let me see how much community service that is. There are, in a regular work week, there are 40 hours, right? And so if you've got 52 weeks in a year, that's a little over 2,000 hours. So that's basically
half time.
Half a year.
Yeah. But somehow he managed, and so that's scandalous enough that he got this slap on the wrist. But the bigger scandal is, how was he allowed to use his 1,000 hours of community service? Well, it turns out, because he was a legislator, he had a PAC, Meet Our Moment. He spent 500 of the 1,000 hours doing campaign work for other Democratic candidates as part of his PAC. So
is that allowed?
Well, it was allowed. It should have been allowed.
It's not supposed to be allowed.
That's not community service. That's partisan political activism. But perhaps the more questionable aspect of it, he spent the other 500 hours of his community service doing work for the Virginia chapter, and this all happened in 2023, both his political campaigning and this other, doing work with the Virginia chapter of the NAACP. Now, what makes this a little bit controversial is he was a lawyer with this fancy law firm, Hogan Lovells. It used to be Hogan and Hartz, and this is the firm where John Roberts worked. It's a high-powered firm in Washington, D.C., before they merged with Lovells. Anyway, he's working for this high-powered firm, which happened to have as a pro bono client the Virginia chapter of the NAACP. They were suing the Glenn Youngkin administration over public records pertaining to voting restoration practices for previously convicted felons.
So that was his law firm's client.
Yeah, and it was a political stunt that they were involved with as part of their pro bono program, which is a very common feature of these big...
But isn't community service supposed to be like picking up garbage along the side of the road?
And doing something that you're not basically getting paid to do anyway.
Yeah.
And so the lawsuit was a partisan political stunt, and it's possible that he received credit for community service for doing pro bono work as a highly paid lawyer. Now, this aspect of his community service is being investigated as, possibly being fraudulent.
Possibly being fraudulent.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, on the face of it, it's a violation of community service rules, from what I can tell.
So the Federalist wrote this up and said at least some of that political work seems to have been undertaken as part of his day job, for which he was paid handsomely. No wonder he's being investigated. And the idea that it'd be one thing if this guy was just running for the General Assembly or the legislature, but he's running to be the Attorney General of Virginia, the top law enforcement officer, and he's demonstrated himself to be a sleazy hack. And so there are very serious questions about whether he legitimately complied with the 1,000 hours of community service, whether this is just he's bending the rules, getting special treatment, which is exactly what the Attorney General is not supposed to be. He's supposed to be representing the rule of law, equal justice under the law. And I think the only conclusion you can reach as a combination of these murderous text fantasies and then this reckless driving and the abuse of the community service sentence that he got is that he's a bad actor. And in my opinion, Virginia voters would be making a huge mistake if they elected him to be their Attorney General.
The polls are mixed. Christopher Newport, September 30th to October 6th, had Jones up by 6. But the most recent poll by the Trafalgar Group has Maieres up by a couple. A2 Insights from October 24th to 26th has 48.6 for Maieres, 48% for Jones, 3.4% undecided, with a 4% margin of error. I don't know.
It's a squeaker.
It's a squeaker.
The wild card.
We'll be back after this.
All right.
Folks, this is Crom Carmichael, CEO of Solti. I have recently turned 77 years old. I do not take prescription drugs. I have not had to take prescription drugs, and I attribute a lot of my good health to a product that I've been taking, which is the active ingredient in Solti. It's a 22% concentration of theaflavin. We did clinical trials on it 25 years ago and found that it helped lower cholesterol. We have had many, many hundreds of letters and emails from customers telling us how it has helped them not only manage their cholesterol, but lower their triglycerides and help them on their blood pressure. And I can't tell you how much I attribute to Solti for my good health at age 77. And I encourage you to go to GodzillaHeart.com. That's GodzillaHeart.com. And use the code Godzilla at checkout, and you'll get a 50% off on your initial shipment of Solti. And I promise you it will be a great help for your heart health. Thanks so much.
The Cats and Cosby Show.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories.
Mamdani visited a very controversial Brooklyn mosque just months after the imam there called for the annihilation of Israel. Your thoughts?
This is a total failure of the media, the journalists, and the Democratic Party to confront this kid with his own background. He's a rabid socialist.
Cats and Cosby, 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the John Fredericks Media Network.
He gave the finger to the Columbus statue.
Right. I can't almost think of any group he hasn't offended.
Ghazala Hashmi is masquerading as a moderate, but she's really a dangerous far-left radical. The facts? Crazy far-left groups bankroll Ghazala Hashmi's campaign, and Hashmi repeatedly voted for taxpayer-funded tuition and driver's licenses for illegal immigrants. She even co-sponsored legislation to lower the penalties for criminals who assault police officers and firefighters. Ghazala Hashmi, masquerading as a moderate, too radical for Virginia.
I'm John Reed, candidate for Lieutenant Governor, and I sponsored this ad.
You've seen the news about Radical Jay Jones, the Democrat who wanted his opponent assassinated.
Jay Jones hoped a Republican's children would die in their mother's arms.
Jay Jones said police needed to die to advance his political agenda.
That's why every law enforcement group called on Jay Jones to withdraw from the race for Attorney General.
But Jay Jones is still in the race.
The only way to stop Jay Jones is for you to vote.
You can vote early in person right now or on Election Day, Tuesday, November 4th.
Log on to votenowva.com to find out hours and locations of where you can cast your ballot today. Again, go to votenowva.com.
Vote early. Vote now. Vote before November 4th for our Attorney General, Jason Miyares.
This election is an easy choice. Jason Miyares is the people's protector.
And Jay Jones is too liberal and too damn soft on criminals.
Jay Jones is unacceptable for Virginia.
I'm Jason Miyares, candidate for Attorney General, and this ad was sponsored by Miyares for Virginia.
My fellow Americans, I was this close, very close, to buying from the lumber yards. These are sick people. But I turned my head at the last second, and I saw a big, beautiful ad for D.T. McCall's. These are highly respected people. If I had not turned my head at the last second, I would have been ripped off at some lumber yard for $200 in hidden charges, and D.T. McCall & Sons are never going to do that. They'd never do that to you. These are great people. I've known them for a long time. They have great deals, and I just have to say, nobody knows deals like I do. D.T. McCall & Sons has locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, and they have been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years. These are tremendous people. D.T. McCall & Sons. Check out one of their stores today.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
This is Michael Patrick Leahy. Join Rutherford County Mayor Joe Carr, Senator Marsha Blackburn, Congressman Tim Burchett, and Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs, and me at T-Bones and Politics 2025 on the evening of November 10th in Murfreesboro for a night of great food, good fellowship, and inspiring political speeches. Get your tickets now. They're going fast at tbonesandpolitics2025.com. This is a great annual event. This year, musical entertainment will be provided by the Tremolo Honey Band. If you haven't heard them before, they are absolutely fantastic. This special event is sponsored by Barrett Firearms, Old South SRM, Moody Excavating, Azure Flight Management, and SEC Engineers. So go right now to tbonesandpolitics2025.com and get your tickets for T-Bones and Politics. It's an evening of great food and fun on November 10th. I'll see you there. Paid for by Joe Pack, William Ronsley, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. In studio, All-Star panelist, good friend, retired attorney, author of Misrule of Law, Mark Pulliam. Mark, turnabout, as they say, is fair play. And so James Comey basically has been accused, allegedly, of making false statements to Congress and obstruction of justice. He's been indicted. They're trying to throw that out. Letitia James, who got elected on going after Donald Trump, has been indicted on mortgage fraud. She's trying to get it thrown out. They might succeed in that. There's a little twist on it since the It's an acting attorney, U.S. attorney who's done it. We'll see how the judges rule on it. But someone else is in trouble. John Brennan, former CIA director. Tell us about this.
All right, and you forgot to mention John Bolton, who I think is seriously in trouble.
Yeah, actually, let's just say this. John Bolton's case is much, much stronger for the federal government.
Yeah.
Because they've got the goods, it appears.
And it's a serious crime. So the next up may be former CIA Director John Brennan, who lied to Congress about his role in the Russian collusion hoax. And in particular, he said he never vetted the Steele dossier, was never opined whether it was credible or not.
And there's plenty of evidence that's come out that, in fact, that's not true.
Yeah, and so recently, last week, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan made a criminal referral of Brennan to Attorney General Pam Bondi, and that the only thing that Brennan had going for him is that the lies that he told Congress in 2017 were basically protected by the statute of limitations, the 5-year statute of limitations. He could not be prosecuted for lying to Congress, even if it was clear that he did, because it took place.
5-year statute of limitations.
Right.
So if he said these things in 2017, by 2022, 5 years had gone, and statute of limitations applied, could not be prosecuted.
Right. So, but what Jim Jordan did is he went back through all of these records and found, and this is paraphrasing John Hinderaker at Powerline, that Jordan's letter says that Brennan perjured himself in testimony he gave a committee investigator in an interview on May 11th, 2023.
Oh, let me do some math here. May 11th, 2023. 5 years from that is 2028.
So we still have a live chance to prosecute him. And in that interview, Brennan repeated essentially the same statements he made in 2017, which was, no, I was not involved in analyzing the dossier at all. I didn't see it until after the election. The CIA was not involved at all. And, that basically Sergeant Schultz, see no evil, hear no evil.
He reiterated his 2017 testimony, which many say was false, but he'd gotten out off the hook because the statute of limitations ran out in 2022. If you had been his attorney, Mark, on the day before he went in and talked to those folks and was interviewed by them, what advice would you have given him?
Take the fifth.
Take the fifth, buddy.
Yeah.
Hold it. If you are in the Biden administration and you're called again to testify, take the fifth.
So Jim Jordan has seen documents and has in his possession documents that he believes confirms the CIA's role in promoting the Steele dossier and the role of John Brennan in particular. So you have to ask yourself, why would a guy who, knowing that he got away with a lie in 2017, make the identical statement to an investigator with all the same rules of perjury? Now, it had to be. This is 2023, remember?
So let me ask you this. So he's not a stupid guy. I'm sure he went to an attorney like you and asked that question, and that attorney probably said take the fifth before he testified again. But he chose not to follow that advice.
I think he was thinking, like a lot of people in the swamp in Washington, D.C. were thinking, Kamala Harris is going to beat, or Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. And in 2023, he thought Trump's going to be buried by all these legal issues.
Right.
He's not going to win. And
Right.
we'll have Biden in.
Yeah, and so that was just hubris, overconfidence that they thought the fix was in, that Trump is bound and gagged and won't be able to lift a finger. But it turns out that he had the most amazing comeback in American political history.
One thing about John Brennan. Do you know who he voted for president in 1976?
Would it be Gus Hall from the American Communist Party?
Indeed, it would be.
And he had to. They give, and when you go to work for the CIA, you have lie detector tests, and you have to talk about all kinds of things that you're not ordinarily required to talk about. And he admitted this, and still got appointed to be director of the CIA, a guy who voted for a communist to be president of the United States. How this would disqualify anybody else except in the swamp when the Democrats are in charge.
See, the question would be why didn't somebody hire him to begin with, right? So let's think about this. How did that happen? I think what happened, I think this is how he got hired. Somebody wanted him in the CIA. And somebody knew that he'd voted for Gus Hall. Said, well, here's the thing to do. Just tell him up front.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll give you a pass. That's what I think happened with this guy.
Well, so assuming Brennan does get indicted, and we'll have to see what Pam Bondi does with that. They're going to have to, get a grand jury to, issue an indictment and so forth. But the next batch of indictments may be the Department of Justice officials behind the so-called Arctic frost scandal. And these are the people who authorized basically not tapping the phones, but monitoring the cell phone records, including personal cell phone records of 9 Republican lawmakers, 8 senators, and a representative. And the people who authorized this, and Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley has tweeted the letters authorizing this, approved by former Attorney General Merrick Garland. And boy, should we ever be glad he did not get put on the Supreme Court.
Oh, my gosh.
He just turned out to be a train
Can I
wreck.
say something nice about Mitch McConnell?
You may.
The reason Merrick Garland is not on the Supreme Court is because, Justice Scalia died in February 2016. And Garland was nominated to replace him. And Mitch McConnell, say what you will about him, prevented that the confirmation hearings of Garland.
And he deserves, we should all be grateful
We
for
should
that.
be very grateful for that. Yeah.
So Lisa Monaco, who was the former deputy attorney general, she was involved in this. Former FBI director Christopher Wray they all authorized this monitoring. And Chuck Grassley is hopping mad. And when he's hopping mad, he's 90-something, but he's still very vibrant.
He still does the full Grassley every year.
Yeah.
Full Grassley is you visit every one of the 95 counties. I think it's 99 counties of Iowa.
In Iowa.
Yeah.
And he runs every day. So anyway, he has
he
declared
walks now, but
that,
yeah,
quote, Arctic frost and related weaponization by federal law enforcement under Biden was arguably worse than Watergate. And he is on the warpath to see it that these people are held to account.
Mm-hmm.
The swamp is being drained one miscreant at a time.
One miscreant at a time. Yeah, it's very interesting. By the way, would you like a little bit of an aside?
Sure.
So I'm doing a little research. We've got a book on the Constitution and Bill of Rights for secondary school students, and we're working on a follow-up book, and the follow-up book it's tentatively titled "Rule of Law: 20 Supreme Court Justices Who Shaped Our Understanding of the Constitution." Well, I'm just doing one of the 20 is Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. I'm not saying I'm a fan of his.
Mm-hmm.
I found out something fascinating. Alger Hiss was a law clerk for Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. Alger Hiss was obviously a communist in the State Department and was convicted of perjury. This was a big deal. It made Nixon's case. All I'm going to say is you want to talk about a swamp and deeply embedded anti-American views.
Yeah.
I think it goes back a long time.
To the Ivy League law schools.
Those Ivy League law schools. Oh, and they've gotten worse.
Yeah. The faculty and the curriculum at these schools is unrecognizable as something that is even law, and certainly not consistent with the rule of law. And it's all left-wing politics, identity politics.
So do you think that former FBI Director Christopher Wray, Attorney General Merrick Garland, and Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco are in jeopardy, are in legal jeopardy as we speak?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Marsha Blackburn is talking about suing them for this.
That would be civil,
That's
not
a
criminal.
civil claim.
Right.
But there are lots of federal statutes, conspiracy to violate civil rights.
This is Mike Davis of Article 3 Project talks about that all the time.
And we ought to listen more to Mike Davis because he's the one guy who's not in the tank with the status quo and justifying the swamp. and he's a disruptor like Trump is, and we need disruption.
He was a staff member for Chuck Grassley. That's his background. So he is very close to Grassley.
And he clerked for Neil Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. He's a smart guy.
Very smart guy. Very smart guy. As actually, I found out also. See, Usha Vance clerks for John Roberts. Did you know that? And Kavanaugh when he was in the Court of Appeals.
Yeah.
Smart people.
And to see Jen Psaki disparaging her.
Oh, yeah.
That's
ridiculous.
Jen Psaki couldn't hold a candle.
We'll have more. James Comey, you've got some weirdness about his attorney. Back with Mark Pulliam after this.
Ponder this. Do you think the world is heading off the rails and that many people have become unhinged? In America, we see people rioting, looting, and even killing to express dissatisfaction and disagreements with contrary lifestyles and points of view. Take heart. God knew from the beginning of time that these conditions would come about, and He chose each one of us to carry out His mission of love and justice at this time in history. We each have a role to play. Some of us will have a very public role, while others are called to keep peace and calm where they are planted. Many are called to raise God-fearing children in healthy Christian families. Wherever God has placed you, pray to know His will for you. Pray hard. Sometimes persistence and perseverance in prayer brings amazing results. God is listening and often wants to hear from you over and over again. Your job is to know God's will for you and just do it. And pray, trust, and persevere. I'm Susie Kelly at ponderfulmoments.org.
It's simple. No worker should ever be forced to pay money to a union boss just to get or keep a job. That's why hard-working Virginians overwhelmingly support right to work and agree that forced unionism is wrong. The good news is Republican gubernatorial candidate Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl-Sears has pledged 100% to defend Virginia's popular right to work law and the economic opportunity that it provides. Unfortunately, her opponent, Abigail Spanberger, can't say the same. In Congress, Spanberger repeatedly co-sponsored legislation that would have wiped out every right-to-work law in the country, including Virginia's. Her record shows she supports Big Labor's agenda and their plan to repeal Virginia's popular right-to-work law. It's time for Abigail Spanberger to change her ways and apologize for support of forced unionism. Call Abigail Spanberger now and urge her to pledge to protect Virginia's right-to-work law. 804-223-0770. Here's what Governor Glenn Youngkin had to say.
We have to protect right to work.
This ad was paid for by the National Right to Work Committee. If you plan on voting for the Republicans in Virginia in November, vote early. That is the key to victory. Let's hear what Governor Youngkin has to say.
We have to get the vote out, and you have to vote early. Something could happen on Election Day, and you will miss it, and we can't afford to miss it. SecureYourVoteVirginia.com is ready to help you make a plan to vote early. Get out and vote. Every single vote counts. Go to SecureYourVoteVirginia.com and make a plan to vote early.
Early voting is underway. The time to vote is now. Paid for by Spirit of Virginia.
Is your fur baby looking a bit rough? Transform them from shaggy to snazzy with Befur and After Pet Grooming in Marietta, Georgia. Their top-notch groomers pamper your pups with baths, custom cuts, and nail trims that'll have them strutting like show dogs. From mobile grooming vans to their cozy salon, they'll make your pet spa day a tail-wagging blast. Book now at BefurandAfterGrooming.com. Befur and After, where pets go from grr to glamorous.
Hey there, it's Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of GlockStore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported our Second Amendment rights with GlockStore.com, the world's #1 source for Glock handguns, parts, and accessories. I also support accurate, unbiased journalism like The Michael Patrick Leahy Show. His team broke the Kilmar Abrego Garcia traffic stop and was the first to obtain that video. Independent journalism at its finest. Visit us at GlockStore.com, listen to Michael Patrick Leahy, and make America great again.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. In studio, Mark Pulliam. Mark, you were talking about how incestuous the statist, deep state attorneys are. Case in point, James Comey is being represented by a fellow by the name of Patrick Fitzgerald. These two go way back, don't they?
They do indeed, and this it should be of concern to patriots and citizens that we have a cadre, a small cadre of lawyers, and people complain about Goldman Sachs people are always in charge of the Treasury Department, regardless of whether it's a Republican or Democratic administration, just because it's a revolving door. And in part because they have the expertise. And to some extent, the same thing happens with all of these legal jobs, including law enforcement jobs, Department of Justice, FBI, with the same handful of lawyers who go in and out of their fancy quarter offices at their white shoe law firms and then do a stint in the DOJ or FBI and then go back. And the same cast of characters is in play for decades. And when I read recently that Comey, as part of his lawyering up, had hired Patrick Fitzgerald, that name set off an alarm. I thought, where have I heard that name before? Well, it turns out Patrick Fitzgerald was one of the people that Comey was leaking these confidential FBI memos to in order to be shopped around to his friendly press outlets. And now he's hired him as a lawyer, which is very irregular because, in a way, Patrick Fitzgerald is an accomplice to this leaking of confidential classified information, and now he's going to be representing Comey in court. There's ethical rules that say you cannot simultaneously represent a client and testify, but people speculate, well, maybe Comey hired him in order to and used him as a source for this leaking so that the attorney-client privilege would prevent him from ever having to point the finger
and
at
testify
Comey.
against him. Yeah.
But we have a crime fraud exception to that. But it kind of reminded me, and I went back and took a stroll down memory lane back in 2007 when George W. Bush was president, and there was a controversy. Somebody in the Bush administration had leaked to Robert Novak, who was a prominent journalist at the time.
Big time at that time,
yeah. That identifying that somebody who was the wife of a Washington insider was actually working for the CIA. And that created a furor, and a special counsel was appointed by the Attorney General to look into this. Well, the Attorney General at the time was John Ashcroft. For reasons that weren't disclosed, Ashcroft recused himself from the special counsel decision, and the Deputy Attorney General, the number two
Who might that be? Who was that?
Who was what?
The Deputy Attorney General.
Okay, was in fact James Comey, and so he had the power to appoint a special counsel, and he appointed his buddy, Patrick Fitzgerald, who I think was the godfather to his children, etc. So they're as thick as thieves. And Patrick Fitzgerald conducted the same kind of witch hunt that special counsels often do with unlimited budgets, virtually no oversight, and they can go after and go in any direction they want. And so very quickly, Patrick Fitzgerald determined that there wasn't an actual crime involved in disclosing that Valerie Plame was working for the CIA because she wasn't an undercover operative. It wasn't secret, and that there was no classified information involved. So instead of packing up shop and going home and saying there's nothing to investigate or prosecute here, he did what special counsels often do.
Mission creep.
Mission creep.
Yeah.
And so he decided somebody was going to get prosecuted and convicted for this. Now, he also knew that who the source of this leak was. Richard Armitage, who was associated with the Bush administration. But since you couldn't prosecute him, he thought, well, who can I prosecute? So he came up with some flimsy theory of, well, let's find somebody, get him to arguably lie about what they know, and then prosecute him for obstruction of justice and perjury. And the guy that they found was the Vice President Dick Cheney's chief of staff, a guy by the name of Scooter Libby.
Yeah, they set him up.
They set him up, and the question that he lied to was, were you surprised when you were watching the Meet the Press and Tim Russert, talked about a phone call involving Valerie Plame, and he said he was surprised. And so they said, oh, you shouldn't have been surprised because you really knew certain things. And so even though he was not involved in the leak, and even though the leak itself was not a crime, they ended up prosecuting Scooter Libby for arguably misremembering a conversation about whether he was surprised about something that came up on Meet the Press. Well, they hauled him in front of a jury in Washington, D.C.
Convicted him.
Well, 12 people on the jury, 11 of them were Democrats. The only person who wasn't a Democrat was a member of the Green Party. They convicted him. When Bush left office, Cheney got on his knees and begged Bush to pardon him. Wouldn't do it, but Trump did in 2018.
Mark Pulliam, so much to cover. Very good job, as always.
Thank you.
We'll see you next Monday.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. Up next, Neil Oren has escaped from WKRN TV and local news, and he's here to tell his story. Back after this.
And the
The Cats and Cosby Show.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories.
Mamdani visited a very controversial Brooklyn mosque just months after the imam there called for the annihilation of Israel. Your thoughts?
This is a total failure of the media, the journalists, and the Democratic Party to confront this kid with his own background. He's a rabid socialist.
Cats and Cosby, 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the John Fredericks Media Network.
He gave the finger to the Columbus statue.
Right. I can't almost think of any group he hasn't offended.
I'm Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, Executive Director of the American Constitutional Rights Union Action Fund, and this is a Live Free Minute. Just this month, an illegal immigrant in Virginia was convicted of raping an 11-year-old girl after breaking into her home. On any given day, there are hundreds of illegal immigrants in Virginia jails who have committed violent crimes. Yet there are politicians who openly advocate for protecting these criminal illegal immigrants and who wish to make Virginia a sanctuary for them. Our constitutional republic is dependent on adherence to the rule of law. Our founders could not have imagined that there would be politicians who would be so bold as to campaign against it. I encourage you to vote this election to protect public safety and the rule of law. This Live Free Minute is sponsored by the American
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Nashville, KQPN, West Memphis, AM 760, AM 730. The Flame.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. President Trump is extending an opportunity to meet with North Korea's reclusive leader Kim Jong-un, even though overtures have gone unanswered so far. He spoke about it with reporters on board Air Force One on his way to Japan.
I haven't mentioned it. I haven't said anything, but I'd love to meet with him if he'd like to meet. I got along great with Kim Jong-un. I liked him. He liked me. If he wants to meet, I'll be in South Korea.
And the president is now in Japan, where he'll meet with the country's newly minted prime minister in Tokyo.
This is a high-stakes visit for Japan. Tokyo will want to reaffirm that its defense alliance with Washington remains solid in an increasingly unstable region. President Trump is expected to push Japan to shoulder more security costs. He's also looking for greater access to Japan's agriculture and car markets, while Sanai Takaichi hopes to attract American investment and protect key domestic industries. For Ms. Takaichi, a protege of the late former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who built a famously close rapport with Donald Trump, this is as much a test of personal diplomacy as policy.
That's BBC's Shaima Halil. Russia has tested a new nuclear-capable cruise missile, moving closer to full deployment. And President Putin made that announcement today. Speaking to reporters about it, President Trump said that Putin needs to reconsider his priorities, especially when it comes to getting along with the international community.
I don't think it's an appropriate thing for Putin to be saying it, by the way. He ought to get the war ended. A war that should have taken 1 week is now in its soon 4th year. That's what he ought to do instead of testing missiles.
Putin claims the new weapon, known as the Burevestnik missile, has an unlimited range and can evade missile defenses. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the other major indexes flying high right now. The Dow up 248 points. The Nasdaq is up 368. The S&P 500 up by 66. More from townhall.com.
Hey, it's Mike Gallagher, host of The Mike Gallagher Show. I don't mess around when it comes to saving you money. Right now, rates have dropped to the lowest level in over a year and a half. That means if you bought your home or refinanced in the last 3 years, you could be saving hundreds of dollars every month. Lower your rate, lower your monthly payment, even kick that pesky PMI to the curb. And get this, you can skip 2 full months of mortgage payments. But that's not all. Fellowship Home Loans just rolled out something incredible. Their very own HELOC and lines of credit. Approval in just 5 minutes. Money in your account in as little as 4 days. It's the easiest system you've ever used. You can do it yourself online. Whether you want to pay off bills, tackle a home project, cover education, or even a wedding, Fellowship Home Loans makes it simple to leverage the money that's already sitting in your house. Just go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending guided by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
Here's Rich Thomason with the Midday Wall Street Business Report.
Optimism over the prospects for a U.S.-China trade deal are boosting Wall Street, which is poised to add to last week's records. Chip makers are doing their part. NVIDIA is up 2.5%, while Micron jumped 4.1%. Markets also will be focused on another heavy slate of corporate earnings this week and what's expected to be another quarter-point interest rate cut from the Federal Reserve on Wednesday. Keurig Dr. Pepper gained 3.7%. after the beverage company topped Wall Street's third-quarter profit forecasts and issued strong guidance. Google and Meta, Microsoft, Apple, and Amazon all report their latest quarterly results this week. President Trump will meet with Chinese President Xi this week in South Korea. Referring to a trade agreement, Mr. Trump says, "I think we're going to come away with a deal." I'm Rich Thomason.
Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. The Secret Service says it sees 22 EBT skimmers in Baltimore, stopping $22 million in fraud.
The U.S. Secret Service, alongside local law enforcement and state agency partners, conducted an electronic benefit transfer fraud and payment card skimming outreach operation in Baltimore and the surrounding areas on October 22nd and 23rd. Personnel visited 493 businesses and removed 22 illegal skimming devices, preventing an estimated potential loss of nearly $22.9 million. More than 3,000 point-of-sale terminals, gas pumps, and ATMs were inspected. Bernie Bennett, Washington.
Starting November 1st, about 41 million people may not get their food benefits. A supplemental nutrition assistance program is funded mostly by the federal government, but it's administered by the states. A notice on the Department of Agriculture website says there will be no benefits issued on November 1st if the government stays shut down. More from townhall.com.
It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Well, what a delight for us. In the house, in studio, a veteran broadcaster, 29 years at WKRN here.
Yeah, 29.
In Nashville, the local television station. The one, the only Neil Oren. Thanks, Neil.
I want to tell you, I'm a little awestruck just being here with you. I mean, I saw you at the event last week, and my mind went blank when I met you because I used to listen to you when I got off the air driving home.
When I was on the other station, I
We
think.
don't talk about it. No, WLZ.
Well, we can say that here.
No, yeah. So
Owned by
I would
Cumulus.
listen to you on my drive home, and it was kind of, for me, it was just a daily, part of my daily routine there. So when I saw you at the event, and you're like, "Hey, what have you been doing the last year?" My mind went blank, and it was like I've been sitting in a room for 340 days doing nothing.
Yeah.
But I've been doing a lot actually. But no, it's an honor to be here.
So
Thank
tell
you
us
so much.
about Neil Oren. Where are you from?
Mostly Maine. My dad ran.
Whoa, Maine?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, Rockland, Maine, Camden, Maine.
Now is that
Mid-Coast, Maine?
Where is that?
So that's okay. Everyone knows where Portland is, right?
Yeah.
Drive an hour and 40 minutes north on Route 1.
Oh.
And you get to Down East Maine.
Yeah.
And you're in Rockport, Rockland, Camden, that
What
whole area.
What did your folks do there?
So my actually, let me backtrack a little bit. My dad ran television stations growing up. So I was born in Albany, New York. He worked at
I know Albany.
Albany, right?
I'm from upstate.
You're upstate New
Yeah.
York, right? And then he ran WTNH in New Haven, Connecticut. So we spent a lot of years out of Maine.
Right.
And then he ran WABI TV up in Maine before he retired.
Okay, so then you
I
grew up in Maine.
TV studios.
In TV studios.
I grew up mostly in Connecticut.
Oh, you grew up mostly in
mostly in Connecticut.
New Haven?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, WTNH, right.
You know who else grew up in that area?
Who?
Attorney General Jonathan Skermetti.
That's right.
New
That's
London
right.
area.
Yeah.
So when did you move to Maine? What year were you in high school?
So it was pretty much after I graduated from the University of Denver, moved up there full time.
Hold it. So you
okay? So
where'd you graduate from high school?
Yes.
Where?
In Woodbridge, Connecticut.
Woodbridge, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Okay. Why on earth did you choose to attend the University of Denver? Because it wouldn't come to, if you're in Woodbridge, Connecticut, it would seem to me you would, you've got the New England schools, you got the Ivies, the small Ivies, you've got the University of Connecticut. There are plenty of other, you got DC. Why would you pick University of Denver?
Well, it's a really deep story here.
Yeah, tell me.
Very deep. I went to the Career Center one day, and I was rifling through the college applications. My mom wanted me to apply to everything within a 2-hour drive of where we were.
Of course, moms do that.
And I found Denver, and I was big into skiing.
Ah.
And so I filled out the application. I put the $25 cash in there.
Yeah.
Sent it off, and about 2 weeks later, I came home, and my mom was slapping a piece of mail on her hand outside where the bus dropped me off. And it was an early acceptance to the University of Denver.
She was unhappy with it?
She was not happy at all. Matter of fact, when they sent me to Denver, it was an Army duffel bag full of my stuff and $150 cash. The cab driver got lost on the way from the airport, Stapleton at the time, to the University of Denver, and I was watching as all my money was running out on the meter before he found the school and dropped me off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was an interesting start. It was basically if you
what was the University of Denver like?
It was a great school. It was a small school at the time. I ended up on the lacrosse team at the school. I did. My dad.
Did you play lacrosse in high school?
I did not. I played soccer. I skied and played some baseball.
Okay, but here's the thing, which you don't know about yours truly. I didn't, because I grew up in upstate New York, and there were a lot of.
Well, that's where all the lacrosse players.
A lot of people
from.
play lacrosse upstate. Long Island is strong lacrosse too.
Long Island.
But when my daughter, who's now in her mid-30s, was in high school, she said, "Dad, I want to play lacrosse," and so I started a lacrosse team.
Right.
At her high school, and I coached it, which was.
So you had to learn the game.
I had to learn the game, and the deal is, and then I played like one summer.
Girls lacrosse is a lot harder than guys lacrosse.
It's a different game. But I played men's lacrosse once. I could only play goalie because I couldn't learn to cradle. The problem is cradling it, right?
Right.
I mean, if you don't start when you're 7 or 8 years old, you never. It's lost development. You never get.
Right.
Were you a midfielder? Were you a goalie? What were you?
I was a midfielder and I was the backup goalie. So you actually got both of them right there.
So the goalie thing would make sense because of the cradling problem.
Right.
That's what I played, goalie.
Well, and our main goalie, first string goalie, was so good. They were like, just put anyone as the backup.
So how long did you play lacrosse there?
I played all 4 years.
No
So
kidding.
yeah, and I ended up a captain my senior year. We actually started to become legit at that point.
Were you
and,
D1?
And now I wear my University of Denver lacrosse sweatshirt out, and people think I played for this really serious team.
Or were they D1 back then?
They were D1. They just became D1, and we were the punching block of every school on the East Coast.
Yeah, but still, I mean, to play D1 lacrosse is is not chump change.
It's not.
That's
No.
pretty good.
Yeah. So we would.
Did you do any skiing at Denver?
Not as much as I had planned
Well,
originally because I was playing lacrosse.
Well, but also Denver, you got to drive to
Yeah.
the mountains like 45 minutes or an
It's
hour.
about 100 miles to get to the real skiing,
Yeah,
like to
so-
Steamboat, to Vail, and all those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a hike out of Denver to do it. But we would go up in the spring to Loveland Pass, and
Mhm.
we'd hike up the pass and ski between the interchange of the road. Back
So
and
you're
forth.
a jock, basically.
I'm basically a jock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And what was the best season record you ever had at University of Denver?
I think the senior year we won about 70% of our games.
That's pretty good.
And we got to the playoffs.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's something.
So,
Yeah.
and it was basically we just by winning our league, we got the invite to the NCAA playoffs, and we
There you
got
go.
absolutely dismissed early.
Who did you- who-
I think it was Wake Forest that
Wake
took us out.
Forest?
Yeah.
Who? Those ACC
well,
teams.
and like Villanova would come out, and,
Oh, yeah.
and Hopkins would come out,
Yeah.
and they'd use
Hopkins was like the number one lacrosse.
They were, but yeah, the Gates for Syracuse with the Gates brothers, but they would come out and they used the high altitude for training.
Oh,
right. So they
gotcha.
wanted to come out to Denver to play us just
Mhm.
to kind of get their lungs a little bit there, and they would destroy us. But we'd get great crowds.
So what did you major in?
Economics.
Economics. And so when you got out of the University of Denver, why did you go into broadcasting?
Well, it wasn't on purpose, but my dad said I'll pay for 4 years of college for his 4 kids if we studied economics, because he felt it was very important that we learned how money works before anything else. He thought it was a very practical thing, and I'm thankful for that. I wanted to do nothing in regards to broadcast when I left the University of Denver.
Right.
I actually created an intern program at Better Homes and Gardens magazine by writing the publisher a letter, West Silk, and we started in sales doing an internship program there.
So you did sales in New York City?
In New York City, yeah.
Well, that must have
Which
been
was
something.
it was something
That
else.
was
Yeah,
big.
my expense account was bigger than most of my friends' salaries at the time.
It's not quite Mad Men, but sort of.
It was
a
it
little
was
post
it was
Mad
a
Men.
little bit.
Yeah.
But I was traveling a lot out of New York City and doing that. But I got to my 2-year anniversary in New York. I went to my boss, Matt Keene, and he said, "You're doing great. We'll move you anywhere you want in the country at this point because you're so successful."
So you were selling Better Homes and Garden.
I was selling for Wood magazine, and then I got promoted to Better Homes and Gardens.
Wood as in like.
As in wood.
Wood.
Working.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
Not-
But it's a job.
It's a job.
Yeah, somebody's got to sell it.
And I went for my 2-year work review, and he said, "You're doing such a great job. Go anywhere you want." I said, "Matt, what happens when I do a great job there?" He said, "We'll bring you right back to New York." And I quit. And I decided to move back to, and I was a young kid, right? Just out of college. And New York City didn't appeal to me. So I went back to Denver, and I was at a bar with some friends, and I backed into this guy, Denny, and we almost got into the pushing match fight thing. It turns out he was a local sales manager for a radio station, KAZY, out in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And he hired me to sell advertising. So I started selling advertising, but Michael, I started spending more time in the booth making the ads. At that point, my dad had left television, bought 2 radio stations up in Rockland, Maine. And he said, "If you're so interested in doing that stuff, move back home and do it."
And did you?
I did.
We'll have the rest of the story with Neil Oren when we get back.
Hi folks, John Fredericks here for Freedom Alliance. Veterans are still struggling with the wounds of war. They came home with injuries that changed them forever. The flag-burning troublemakers in our streets remind me how fortunate we are to have patriots who served and fought, sacrificed, and never complained. We need to support them through organizations like the Freedom Alliance. It's Military Appreciation Month and time to support those who serve. Freedom Alliance is caring for combat veterans and military families. Combat veterans fought in the worst, most dangerous places on earth. Freedom Alliance takes them to nature's most most relaxing locations so they can heal. Freedom Alliance gives injured troops mortgage-free homes, new cars, and all-terrain wheelchairs. For wounded vets, there's nothing like the stability of your own home, the reinsurance of a reliable vehicle, or the independence of a wheelchair that navigates snow, ice, beach, pasture, or most any terrain. Let's fight for those who fought for us. Go to freedomalliance.org/Godzilla and make a monthly gift that will improve the life of a military hero. That's freedomalliance.org/Godzilla. Make a contribution today.
If you're like me, most moms find it difficult to prioritize self-care. Hi, it's Colleen, Program Director at the John Fredericks Media Network. With the demands of programming 13 radio stations, it's easy to forget about the things I should do for myself daily. And that's why I started with our company's Women's Challenge with Native Path Collagen Peptides. It's affordable and convenient care in just 1 scoop a day. There are so many incredible health benefits like bone and joint support, metabolism booster, and hair, skin, and nail improvement. I like to take a moment each day to prioritize myself and indulge in the health-boosting benefits of Native Path Collagen Peptides. I love mixing it up with all the different smoothie recipes, too. Learn more about Native Path Collagen Peptides and read 7 important reasons why you should be taking collagen peptides at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Prioritize your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today and get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
Target.com. Target.com is an online e-commerce tire retailer. We are here to serve the American public with the best possible customer service, the best pricing, and we make it extremely easy. We have many name brands and a lot of low-cost tires. The price is right, and it's easy. You go online to Target.com, Tireget.com, Target.com. You go there, you put your zip code in, all the inventory displays right in front of you. You can call in for help if you want to. We'll help you get the tire that you need. But we will take the tires you buy and at no extra charge deliver them to the dealer right by your house where they will be installed at the market price. It's easy. The best price, the best service. Great people to deal with. Thank you for going to Target.
Now more than ever, President Trump needs battle-tested conservatives fighting alongside him to save our country. That's why Trump endorsed Matt Van Epps for Congress. West Point grad, 9 combat tours, decorated Army vet. Matt Van Epps has devoted his life to defending America and the conservative values we cherish. Endorsed by Trump, fearless conservative. Tennessee's Matt Van Epps for Congress. School Freedom Fund is responsible for the content of this ad.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
We're hanging out with Neil Orn, formerly of WKRN, the morning guy. And Neil, so you go to sell radio time in your family-owned radio station in Rockport, Maine.
Rockland, Maine, right?
Rockland, Maine.
Which is right next to Rockport.
What happens next?
I spend more time in the studio. I joined the morning show with DJ McCoy as an on-air guy. I would do the news segments and I would stay in the studio. I would go to the city council meetings at night. I would take notes on the city council meetings, and then I'd come back. I'd write my stories for the next morning.
You were actually a reporter.
I was reporting. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just
matter.
told it didn't matter. It's just go.
The
First of all,
Woody Allen
sitting through a
thing.
local city council meeting for a couple hours is torture.
Torture. Beyond torture.
It's beyond torture.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, before I knew it, I was going in the morning. I was turning the radio station on. I was doing the morning show. Then I would produce ads all day. And then at night, I would clean up the radio station. I'd go out in sales calls. I'd do live remotes. And when you're in local news or when you're in a local radio station, you do everything.
Yeah.
I would go up on top of a 4-story roof in downtown Rockland and sweep off 4 feet of snow, not knowing where the edge of the roof was, to try to clear the satellite dishes.
What's the population of Rockland?
Oh gosh, I think
20,000?
it's 7,000. Yeah, there's a summer population, there's a winter population.
So how'd you get in TV?
So the local weatherman up there, Steve McKay, called me up one day. I was in a production studio, and he said, "Hey, I'm going away for a week. Do you want to fill in for me?" And I had a mullet. I had no suit.
You had a mullet?
I had a mullet. A pretty good little one. It was good. I wore it well. Pulled it off. And I said, sure. And then I started calling my friends at the other stations in Bangor, Maine, which is where I was based at that time, because we had 2 in Bangor, 2 in Rockland. Sorry. Missed a step there. But yeah, Steve called me already. I said no. Yeah, Steve called me already. I said no. I called everyone. And I finally called Steve back. I said, am I the last person in Bangor, Maine that you're going to ask to fill in for weather? And he said, yes. I was going to have to call someone from Portland. So I said, okay, challenge accepted. I went in for 2 weeks early. I learned the graphics. I learned the weather forecasting. I'm a pilot already, so I knew a lot about the weather to begin with. And I practiced on air. And the first 5 days on air, Michael, couldn't have gone any worse. It could not have gone any worse. The first day I pointed to California instead of Maine. The news director calls me in and says, hey, great job. The second day, there were severe storms, and you could hear the keys and the change in my pocket rattling. I was so nervous.
Mm-hmm.
The third day, I started getting really comfortable, and I somehow turned my back and wrapped my feet off, and I had a bunny hop off the side of the set. And again, the news director called me in and he'd be like, you're doing great. Just don't turn your back to the camera, and you won't do that.
That would be like...
That'd be like... And the final day, I do everything just right. It's Friday. I go back to the news desk. This distinguished anchor who's kind of like Ann Holt in this market, Sharon. Yeah. She was sitting there, and I sit next to her for the little happy chat that we do in local news after weather. I sit too close to the edge of the seat, and as it comes to the two shot, my seat kicks out from under me, and I disappear, and this lady who's never laughed on air could not hold it together.
Yeah.
I get off the air, and it's the general manager over the microphone in the studio said, come see me. And I sat down, and it was kind of like a 007 thing. She spins around in her seat, and she goes, that was the best 5 days of weather I've ever seen. You have to promise me every time Steve McKay's on vacation, you fill in.
Well, why was it the best?
Just because of what else?
Fun.
Could you buy any better humor than some kid flailing in front of the camera? So my dad, unbeknownst to me, the second time I filled in, I was a professional. I did it well. My dad was tape recording all of them, sending VHSs all around the country. Mike Seacrest in Nashville gets my thing, calls me up. You want to come down and interview? No one believed me in Maine. I came down, I interviewed. I was reporting 3 days a week. I was doing the weekend weather, and I thought I'd be here for a week and get fired. And 30 years later,
30 years later. So how long did you do the weather here?
I think I did it for about 4 years.
And you would do like the evening? What was your
I was
schedule?
doing the weekend weather, and I was reporting 3 days a week. And then I got moved to the morning weather. And then they liked the chemistry with me and Victoria Hansen so much, they said, do you want to move to news? And so I swapped over to news at that point and stayed in that ever since.
So your typical day
My
was
typical
what?
day. Wake up at 1:30.
How do you wake up? What time do you go to bed?
It varied depending on if there was a nap during the day. I used to do the morning stuff. You know how that works. But 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. I mean, I used to say that my 2 and 4 year old daughters used to put me to bed at night.
Yeah, really.
Because Daddy's got to go to bed. He's got to be up early. I would get to the studio 2:30, 3 o'clock. I would rewrite as many possible scripts as I could. I would go through everything. I would have discussions with our executive producer about some of the stuff that was going on, and then I would go back in, and the scripts would be changed back to the way they originally were. But I kind of knew what I was doing editing wise, so I would just kind of ad lib through scripts at that point. So my getting there so early was a lot of preparation and getting to know the material before it actually changed in front of my very eyes.
So you would be on air from when to when? Typically
4 to 7.
4 to 7.
Yeah.
You were 4 to 7 for how many years?
I mean, most of the 30 years, 26 at least.
That's crazy.
It is, I switched the evenings one time for a year, and I begged to go back to the morning.
You didn't like the evenings?
Not at all.
What was wrong with the evenings?
Well, first of all, it's chaotic. It's controlled chaos, and it's like being in an insane asylum in the afternoon when all the stories are coming in.
When things are breaking.
It's not as much breaking. It's just the stories are trying to come together, and all the reporters are in from the field with their photographers, and the newsroom is just a bunch of egos kind of clashing.
Clashing egos.
Clashing egos, right?
I'm shocked.
I know. So
I mean, yeah, it's not all happy talk.
It's not all happy talk. Then you're done at 10:35. You stay awake until 2:30 because you're all wound up from the day at work. Then you miss the next day. No, I like getting my work done in the morning and then just having the rest of the day for myself.
Yeah, yeah. So, how has news changed here in Nashville during the 30 years you've been on?
It's changed both technologically. It's changed ideologically. It's changed just in. The fact is now when you're a reporter, you have to go out and you have about an hour and a half, 2 hours to go get the details of a very complicated story, turn that into a package at 5, 2 VOSOTs.
Tell people what a package is.
A package is a written script with your sound bites picked, and you audio track it, and it's edited together. So it's what you see every time.
It's like a 2-minute package,
it's
typically.
1 minute and 30 seconds.
1:30.
They get uncomfortable after a minute 15. So 1:30 is pushing it.
Are you saying your listeners have a short attention span?
No, I'm saying my managers have a short attention span. People we always used to sit there and go, 60 minutes has 15-minute stories, and no one cares about their length. But I do a minute and 45 seconds, and all of a sudden I'm the bad guy. Well, you threw off the rundown, but so the reporter now, first of all, doesn't have a photographer anymore, doesn't have a separate editor. The reporter has to go out pretty much on their own, sometimes with a photographer. They have to shoot their own story. They're responsible for social media posts on all the different the platforms that the station has. They have to turn that package, and then also a shorter version of it, which in our business is called a VOSA. But it's basically the anchor reads the script with just one bit of the interview put in there. So the time for a reporter to actually do a well thought out story, and maybe the idea of saying, I'm onto something big here, can I have until tomorrow to track down a couple more sources, is laughable.
You don't get it.
You don't get it.
You gotta feed the beast.
You gotta feed the beast, and what happens is you end up in a situation where you're taking the path of least resistance, right? I'm gonna take the interview that comes to me. I'm gonna take the interview that's set up by me by the desk. I'm going to go out and do that interview, but I'm only going to ask 3 questions, because if I ask more than 3 questions, I have to log a lot more. I'm going to ask 3 quick questions. I'm going to run with that interview. I don't have to get 2 interviews, just 1, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to take care of business and get my job done for the day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to please an audience. I'm trying to please my bosses, right?
Yeah.
And that's changed. And what used to happen, I remember when my dad ran a television station in New Haven, Connecticut. He was so concerned about bias in the news, he would have one reporter go out and cover the Democrat side of an issue, and another reporter go out and cover the Republican side of the issue, and then he'd run the 2 stories back to back. Those are some of my earliest memories of what happens in a newsroom, and he was heavily criticized for that. I mean, it was kind of like calling out bias when it supposedly wasn't there. So I've always kind of known in the back of my head where local news is and where it stands on a lot of stuff there. But what's happened is the time constraint and the planning on this stuff has kind of distilled it down to a product that really needs a lot of work at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
In other words, it's pretty much awful. My word's not yours.
Right, your word's not mine. But no, I mean, look, the evidence is there. Look at the ratings. Look at the impact that this stuff has. I'm not saying anything that you can't go and look at the facts. And it's kind of like when the ratings and the shares are going down over and over again, you can blame a whole lot of things. But by doing the exact same thing but even more intense, you're basically not acknowledging that we have a problem here. And you're doubling down on, fear drives local news, right, Michael? I have to make people uncomfortable in their world to get them to watch.
Somebody was killed, and then there was a wreck. Film at 11.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
That's the
and
old
we'll
saying.
follow up. We'll get you the follow up on that story that never comes. and I knew the business was in a huge transition when at the end of every local news story, I would say, go to WKRN.com for more details. And then it's like, what am I doing here? I'm literally building another platform and urging our viewers
to leave you.
To leave us.
Yeah.
And then what they would get is the exact same story at that point.
We'll talk about leaving and changes.
Yes.
When we get back.
Okay.
With Neil Oren, formerly of WKRN. Back after this.
Everyone, EJ Host here, founder of the Digital Footprint Management Agency and frequent guest on the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, here to tell you about GetFoundEverywhere.com. Customers are searching for your business everywhere: Google, Apple Maps, TikTok, and new AI platforms like ChatGPT and Gemini, which is a total disruptor. Traditional search engine optimization isn't dead, but it is on life support. Old tactics don't work anymore. So how can you make your business stand out? GetFoundEverywhere.com makes your business pop on over 50 search, map, review, and AI-driven platforms. With one easy dashboard, manage business profiles, social media accounts, direct messages, even texts and reviews. GetFoundEverywhere.com is affordable, boosts your visibility, and gets your business more customers. It's time to step up your game the easy way. Save time, save money, and get more customers with GetFoundEverywhere.com.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of Glockstore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported the Second Amendment rights of free men and women to protect themselves and their families with firearms. We offer the very best in both selection and prices on Glock handguns, custom Glocks, Glock magazines, and high-performance shooting accessories at Glockstore.com. We also have the finest retail showroom and our Shoot 270 shoot rooms right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Come visit us at Glockstore.com, and you'll be glad you did.
My fellow Americans, my good friends, I've known them for a long time, at D.T. McCall & Sons have the deal of a lifetime for you, and nobody knows deals like I do. That much I can tell you. Nobody knows deals like I do. The lumber yards, they can hit you with hidden charges for up to $200 extra. They'll charge you for cords and hoses and haul-offs. Your money goes all over the place and out of the state, and most importantly, out of your pockets. How do they get away with that? I don't know how they do that, but on day one, if you buy from McCall's, we are going to stop the hidden charges as soon as you buy it. D.T. McCall & Sons has locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, and they have been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years. Head to one of their stores today or check them out at dtmccalls.com. You're going to love it, believe me.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
This is Michael Patrick Leahy. Join Rutherford County Mayor Joe Carr, Senator Marsha Blackburn, Congressman Tim Burchett, and Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs, and me at T-Bones and Politics 2025 on the evening of November 10th in Murfreesboro for a night of great food, good fellowship, and inspiring political speeches. Get your tickets now. They're going fast at tbonesandpolitics2025.com. This is a great annual event. This year, musical entertainment will be provided by the Tremolo Honey Band. If you haven't heard them before, they are absolutely fantastic. This special event is sponsored by Barrett Firearms, Old South SRM, Moody Excavating, Azure Flight Management, and SEC Engineers. So go right now to tbonesandpolitics2025.com and get your tickets for T-Bones and Politics. It's an evening of great food and fun on November 10th. I'll see you there. Paid for by Joe Pack, William Ronsley, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. In studio, Neil Orrin. So, Neil, you've been the morning guy on WKRN.
I love morning TV.
ABC TV here, 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. for basically 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Last November, you decided to leave.
I did.
Tell us why.
It was one of those things over the years. You have to have a lot of positives versus the negatives to want to wake up at 1:30 to basically to have right, and to have zero life outside of what your job was, and my job was great. I have front row access to a whole bunch of different cool events there. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate everything about it, but it got to a point where we're waking up at that hour and doing what we were doing just no longer made sense to me. It was, look, we went through some rather traumatic events as a country there over a few years, and it made with the COVID, with the 2020 election. There were just a lot of things to me that really kind of soured my taste on where we were as just a news organization. And I'm not talking about our station. I'm just talking about the
News
general
in general.
news in general. And I started working with kids that were younger than my ties. I always say, right? And all of a sudden, the newsroom just changed.
Let's talk about this for a moment.
Okay.
Local news. The reporters are young, brains full of mush. I mean, let's be honest. That's
Well, they just don't have a catalog. They don't have experience. They
Local news takes like college grads, 21, 22. They pay them nothing.
Right.
Pay them nothing.
Right.
And then they say, go do the news. And they just don't have the chops for
There
it.
used to be a chain, right? So you'd start out in Evansville. You'd start out in Bangor, Maine. You'd start out in these small markets, and you'd kind of learn the business a little bit.
You learn how to be a
wouldn't
reporter.
make it, you wouldn't make it to a top 20, 30 market until you've been in the business 5-6 years.
As was your case, yeah.
Right. So there were actually gates there that you had to pass through, and it was more based on how good you were as a reporter versus can you be here 5 days a week? Can you do the schedule? Do you have a big social media following?
Yeah, that's key these days.
That is key these days.
Yeah.
So the whole and I loved a lot of the folks I worked with, but when you start being called a legend, and I still feel pretty young. Don't call me a legend. I'm here working on a morning show. I wanted it to be the number one morning show, and that was my only goal. And all of a sudden, ratings did not matter anymore. Putting the effort in didn't seem to matter as much.
What mattered?
What mattered was getting 3 hours on the air, off the air, not slandering anyone.
Not slandering anyone.
Well, right.
Well, actually, no, I understand.
Right.
Yeah.
And
because litigation is,
Well, local TV fears litigation, of
Yeah.
course, and we all do. But no, it became a point where we used to get the ratings every day, Michael, and when you look through them, you could tell every 15 minutes. You go back to the day before, and you say what we were doing here, what we were doing here, and then all of a sudden the ratings stopped coming, and they stopped caring about.
When did the ratings stop coming?
The ratings stopped coming when the big media groups started buying, like when Nexstar became really big. All of a sudden, the rating emails just went away.
So
because they're more interested in carriage fees than they are in local
Tell
revenue.
people what carriage fees are.
Carriage fees are what DirecTV pays, like Nexstar, to carry
Or
all their
Comcast.
stations, or Comcast. Every single service that streams pays the station group money. So that became the profit center as opposed to local ad sales as much. So it was more important to have someone in there that was $25,000 a year, $30,000 a year, whatever the salaries were, versus someone like me who's been there for 30 years and I could easily be replaced with 5 people as opposed to me just one. No longer mattered to the equation as much. So there was a combination of my losing desire to wake up at 1:30 and go into that mess every day, and also the
30
station.
years of waking up at 1:30 is a long
Right,
time.
and-
I woke up at like 3:15 for like 5.5 years, and I got tired of that.
But it was never a problem. I would do it again if the right opportunity came up. I would do it. I loved broadcasting. Right, I loved sitting there, especially breaking news and being the one who's like disseminating information. That Christmas morning bombing was such a horrific event in Nashville, but it was so obvious early on that we had heroes emerging from this event that saved people, and the storyline was intriguing. Right on through the day, it was 17
I remember
hours
that.
straight.
Yeah.
The 1998 tornado in Nashville.
Remember that?
I remember my mom calling me up saying, "You're on CNN. They're carrying you live," and like it was the adrenaline rush of being that person that was like taking that information to me was everything. We don't even do breaking news really anymore. It's faking news, right? It's there's a line on the rundown like this that says, "Okay, news alert here." And you're like, you have it programmed into a rundown?
We're going to have a news alert.
That doesn't really...
We don't know what the news will be, but we'll alert you about it.
It was... So I sat down for a meeting with my boss. I was 10 minutes late for work one day, and he said, "I don't like to have these types of meetings." And I turned to him, I said, "Let's not. I'm done December 31st. My contract's over. I'm done." And it was an easy decision.
Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense. And then... So local news, television news, is dominated by 3 or 4 companies right now.
Yes.
Nexstar Media owns about 100. Gray TV, Nexstar owns WKRN.
Yep.
Gray TV owns about 100, and they own WSMV.
Yep.
Sinclair owns about 100. They own
there was
Fox
Tegna
17.
before and Meredith, and they've been kind of folded into other companies.
Come together. And then Scripps owns about 100 stations, including News Channel 5.
Right. So what happens when you get just 3 or 4 major local news groups? Well, you're not local news anymore. What you end up with a product where you can take a local news out of Nashville, plunk it down in any city in this country, and run it, and people would be none the wiser. Right? It turns into this homogenized thing.
It's homogenized stuff, and it's not. And they don't really go out and get the stories.
No.
They don't talk to They don't get multiple views on it.
No.
It's like, what is this now?
No.
Yeah.
And you would think in a state where we're like 65-70% red,
you would think
you might want to pay a little bit more attention to what's happening, say, on Capitol Hill versus what's happening over on.
But no. Okay, so what's next? So you decided you were done with that.
It's been, first of all, it took me about 4 months to realize that I'm not doing this anymore, and the stress level to come down. And I felt like I lived in a safer city all of a sudden after 4 months of being off the air from like being immersed in local news. I have a tremendous desire to do live broadcasting. So
you want to do live broadcasting?
Absolutely. And I have talked to a lot of folks about doing a 2-hour morning show that would stream on YouTube or another streaming service. And we picked out names, websites, trademarks, all that stuff. We've taken care of that. But trying to get it actual from an idea standpoint to discussions to actually put it in use has been a little bit more of a challenge, right? I'm sitting here talking to a guy who I admire because of the Star Network and what you've been able to do. So I came here both educationally and to get a little inspiration moving forward. But I think after spending 30 years and a lot of it complaining about what we're lacking in local news and what we're lacking is celebrating the city and actually diving into the issues that affect this city.
So you really want to do local news?
I think it's on me. I
think
it's imperative. Yeah, absolutely. I want to do it right?
So,
you can't complain about something and then just walk away from it. You got to come up with some solutions.
So, there was a time when radio did local news.
Right.
Doesn't do local news now.
No.
Even here in town, you've got WLAC.
Yeah.
The iHeart media station.
Yeah.
The guy that took my place in the morning, Michael Del Giorno, basically does a sort of an entertainment review.
Sure.
Generic.
Sure.
Right. It's not national.
Your
specific.
morning show.
yeah. It's your morning show.
I've never met Michael. I heard he's a nice guy, and I do listen.
It's your morning show. Except it's a generic show.
But
then, and even our friends at 99.7 WTN.
Right.
That's totally changed.
Right.
Right. I mean, it used to be live and local, but now it's,
But I find myself listening more to them than like say Sean Hannity in the afternoon.
Yeah, because there's a little local angle
because there's a little local to it there.
And we love Sean.
Absolutely.
But Sean, buddy.
Right.
Try not repeating yourself.
I know you do jiu-jitsu.
We love you, Sean.
No, I mean, he's terrific. And we know that he worked when he was 14 at a radio station, and we understand everything about that. And his story is wonderful. So good. Like, it's inspirational, right?
But then the local television news is beyond pathetic. I mean, there's no news.
Right.
And then you get this knucklehead at News Channel 5, Phil Williams, who's, the leftist sympathizer who hates Donald Trump. And he's like going out kind of creating these silly issues that are, that really aren't there. And
but he gets a lot of clicks.
He gets a lot of clicks, and he gets
a lot of clicks mostly from people who don't like him.
He gets awards.
Well, we're big into self-congratulations. Yeah.
But I think you're right. We do need actually good local news. Covering the state capitol, for instance.
Covering the state capitol. Actually, I mean, there's organizations like the Pamphleteer and stuff like that. There are people out there kind of digging for news stories out there. Your website,
Tennessee Star,
100% on that. And then on the other end of the spectrum, how nice would it be to get people from both sides in the same room to talk about these things? It might be a show that lasts a week.
But see, here I'm going to disagree with you. There is no dialogue with the left.
True.
None. I mean, they just hate America.
They
hate America.
Right.
I mean, I'm just saying. I understand.
Well,
we get all like you see C-SPAN. Let's have both sides now, and it's boring.
I get it.
You know, it's just really boring.
There are some people on the left that can articulate a position, but they choose not to get out there in public and discuss this stuff. It seems like the voices that are out there are the ones that, like, when I listened to the former president yesterday receiving an award and speaking about the danger that the country's under without giving any substance facts as to what danger we're talking about, you know, that bothers me.
The good news is you want to do local news.
I do want to do local news.
The good news is, you know, besides the Tennessee Star and the Michael Patrick Leahy Show,
sure,
there's not a lot of coverage. I mean, who broke the Kilmar Abrego Garcia story? Oh, that would be us.
That's right.
Who broke the you know, the
Which,
Covenant
by the
Manifesto
way,
story? That would be us.
Which I heard more about that story outside of Tennessee than I did inside of Tennessee.
Right.
It was everywhere when you were outside of Tennessee. I was down in Florida, and I was up in Maine, and it was everywhere. And then you come back here, you turn on local news, crickets. Nothing.
Hey, when we come back, you ready for News Potpourri?
This is the part I've been waiting for.
It's been fun. All right. Back after this.
Tom Carmichael, CEO of Soul Tea, a supplement to help you have a healthier heart and stronger cardiovascular system. At Soul Tea, we regularly get emails from our customers telling us how Soul Tea has helped them. Like this one from Kelly. Hello, I'm 58 years old and have had high cholesterol for years. I wanted to stay away from prescription drugs. My husband and I have been using Soul Tea for about 13 months. My results have been amazing. My cholesterol levels went from 291 to 129. I am so impressed with Soul Tea and want to thank you. Now, in my own case, my bad cholesterol dropped from 130 to 89, and that was 20 years ago. I'm 75 years old and I take 0 prescription drugs. To get a great deal on Soul Tea, please go to GodzillaHeart.com, and when you check out, use the code Godzilla to get our best deal, which is 50% off your first shipment and then 3 bottles for the price of 2 thereafter. You don't have to live with a broken heart.
Do you suffer from
Try
declining
Soul Tea
bone and
today.
joint health? Hi, it's Tina with the John Fredericks Media Network. And when I heard about our company's Women's Challenge, I jumped on the opportunity to test this amazing supplement that's already restoring my bone density, soothing my joint pain, and helping me regain lost mobility. I've experienced so many benefits in such a short time with Native Path Collagen Peptides because they support my bones and joints, boost my metabolism, and unleash the most radiant skin and hair since my 20s. In just 2 weeks, my knee stiffness is gone, and I'm already hitting the gym more aggressively. And I get so many compliments on my glowy skin and shiny hair. Native Path Collagen Peptides are so easy to take. They're tasteless, odorless, and mix great with my morning coffee. Read thousands of 5-star reviews at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Level up your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today. And get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cells Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's healthycell.com, code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Oh, man.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. In studio, our very good friend Neil Orn, previously with WKRN TV, but now, obviously, loves reporting on local news. Neil, you know what time of day it is?
It's news potpourri
It's time for news potpourri.
Right, and there's never enough time for this, but we're doing okay.
We're doing okay.
We have time to flesh this stuff out.
News potpourri. This is the portion of the program, Neil, where we talk about the stories of note, don't necessarily merit a full segment, and may have a touch of
irony.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
There's the man. Okay.
Actually, irony.
Irony.
Yeah, I did not.
John Dickerson. He
CBS.
is. Yeah. Apparently he's leaving CBS News.
Really?
Yeah.
The two-anchor thing, not doing it.
How awful is it?
It's the worst.
It's terrible.
I mean, it was almost like, no.
So Barry Weiss, Barry Weiss, the Free Press person.
Oh, yeah.
She sold the Free Press for $150 million to Ellis and Son, who now owns CBS.
And now she's put the fear of everything in CBS's
supposedly,
newsroom.
Except, she says she wants to get Brett Baer.
Okay.
To run the CBS News. I have some advice for her and for Brett. Bad idea. It won't work. You gotta do something else.
Yeah.
Because basically, Brett has got the whole Fox News crew behind him. You move him over to CBS News, it will not work.
I want to know how that name even got into play. So normally something like that sneaks out, and they're already far in discussions.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that one. Okay. Speaking of interesting bits, Donald Trump was asked about this whole third term thing. My buddy Stephen K. Bannon has been saying, we're going to do a third term. Of course, there is this 22nd Amendment, which says you can only be elected twice. Elected. Asterisk.
Right.
Oh, let's go with this clip.
One theory on how you might try to serve a third term is that you could run as the vice president.
Yeah, I'd be allowed to do that.
Is it the White House or the White House counsels or your legal position?
No, you'd be allowed to do that, but I wouldn't do that. I think it's
that
too cute. Yeah, I wouldn't.
He says Trump says he would be allowed to do that, but it's too cute. The one little caveat on that is, it's like if Vance were to be president, he'd be vice president, then Vance would resign and he'd take it over.
There are ways around it.
There's the last sentence of the 12th Amendment.
What is that?
Says that came into effect in 1804. The last sentence says, no one who is not eligible to serve as president is eligible to serve as vice president. Now, that in theory, most people would say
that rules him out as Vance's vice president.
Asterisk. Because he would be technically, if you were to argue the other side, you'd say, well, he'd be eligible to serve as president. He just wouldn't be eligible to run for a third term as president, to be elected.
Right.
I think Trump is right. That's too clever by half.
I mean, and basically he just controls the narrative on the media for the next few days.
So this is the whole thing. Stephen K. Bannon. Yeah. Why is he saying this?
Because he wants 100%.
He's a maximalist. He wants it out there.
Yeah.
And he's not revealing the mechanism yet.
Well, if you think about the first term, he was controlled by the news cycle. Now he's controlling the news cycle.
Yeah.
I think that's the two big differences that we're seeing.
Exactly right. This is the weirdest story.
Oh, I want to hear.
Brigitte Macron.
Yes.
The trial begins today. The trial of 10 accused of sexist cyberbullying of Brigitte Macron. 10 people accused of sexist cyberbullying of French President wife Brigitte Macron are due to get a trial this week in Paris. Okay, so they've said bad things about her. This is sort of related to the other angle on this story. I'm not even going to say her name, but there is a
we know
there is a internet personality,
sure,
who has some communication capabilities, who's been claiming that Brigitte Macron is really a man.
Sure.
How would she know? I don't know.
I mean, there are pictures out there.
I know.
But AI can do anything.
But here's the thing. It's a weird story to begin with, right? But what's weird about it is, when Macron was like 14 years old and she was married allegedly and had 4 kids, she was 40 and they had an affair.
Mm-hmm.
And they got married. Uh-huh. Now she's like ancient.
Yeah.
And looks a little bit ancient. Well, anyways, that is a very weird story.
So I hope we don't see any pictures from the trial. I really hope we don't see any pictures from the trial. We're good.
You know Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury?
Absolutely, yeah.
Bessent had I called him up when he was nominated because I did one of his first interviews before he was even on the list.
He's a smart dude.
Bannon called me and said, "Look, this guy needs a little media training. Can you help out?" I said, "Sure." So I interviewed him like 3 or 4 times. I did some of his first interviews. We had a promise with Bessent that we would be his first radio interview when he became Secretary of Treasury.
And
it is a promise that has not yet been fulfilled. But I'm cutting him some slack because he's really, really busy. Okay, so there's a new Fed chairman coming up, right?
Right.
And I do they have the names here? Okay, yeah. So he's narrowed it down to 5.
He's not going to make Rubio do it since he's doing everything else?
Yeah.
Like if it was just added on,
he's got like
hey,
4
you're doing
jobs
fine there, Marco. Why don't you take this too?
Speaking to reporters, this is from CNBC. Speaking to reporters on Air Force One, Scott Bessent said the finalists are, probably need a drum roll, current Fed governors Christopher Waller and Michelle Bowman, National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassert. This is the guy that you've seen on TV a lot.
Yep.
Former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh and BlackRock Executive Rick Ryder. Notably absent is David Malpass, the former head of the World
Well, I thought he was
Bank.
the leading candidate not too long ago.
So did I.
His name was the only one that I was hearing. I just know that we're a couple interest rate cuts behind schedule right now.
I
the
would
sooner
say,
we can get this moving, maybe my house will sell sooner. It's really kind of getting a little bit annoying.
Okay, last question for you.
Go ahead.
With the Titans being pretty much the worst team in the NFL, will they be able to sell the very expensive PSL seats to cost justify the
Have
ridiculous?
you seen the prices? Have you talked to PSL owners that are trying to renew?
Are people
going to
buy them? It's like $10,000, and it's like the ridiculous stuff.
You know what? My girlfriend Carrie walked by me yesterday. I'm watching the game.
Yeah.
I'm in the living room watching the game. She said, "Are the Titans playing?" I said, "Not really."
Boom, shakalaka. And on that note, Neil, hey, thanks for coming. Come by again.
Michael, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. The website, TennesseeStar.com. Rob Carson is next. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy. He's Neil Oren.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Hey there, it's Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of GlockStore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported our Second Amendment rights with GlockStore.com, the world's #1 source for Glock handguns, parts, and accessories. I also support accurate, unbiased journalism like The Michael Patrick Leahy Show. His team broke the Kilmar Abrego Garcia traffic stop and was the first to obtain that video. Independent journalism at its finest. Visit us at GlockStore.com. Listen to Michael Patrick Leahy and make America great again.
FlatFeeNashville.com is a full-service real estate brokerage that charges homeowners a upfront flat fee of $999 to completely list, market, and sell your home. We are all about saving consumers money, saving that equity. Nobody should hire an agent and feel like when that agent walks in the door, that agent is more concerned about the down payment on their next Mercedes purchase versus saving the equity that those homeowners have worked hard for. I've spent my entire career in ensuring that the equity that people save and they put into their monthly mortgage every single month, as much of that as we possibly can goes back to them when they go to list and sell that home. The idea is to give homeowners the ability to really create generational wealth.
FlatFeeNashville.com, FlatFeeNashville.com.